much. Good morning. Let's do a sound check. Let's just make sure for everybody in the chat room and on YouTube that you can hear us. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a yes. There we go. All right. Yes, everybody. So yeah, once we got the music down, you can hear us a lot better. So for those in both, we've got a little bit of an incorporated view here today. So the video is off to the side of the normal charts in the chat room. You're not used to seeing it that way. There's no separate videos. So in the chat room, I see a couple people are trying to find it. If you click on the live trading option there, you'll see us, little video, you'll see a screen. We're in there.
All right, guys, very excited to be here, and we've been having such an amazing time. I mean, this conference, for those that are not here over on YouTube and in our members tab, I mean, has been absolutely incredible. Peter, we've been having just an awesome time. But we're going to run our pre-market show now, and we're going to try to get you guys ready for the market open. Has been very interesting, obviously, given the way the SPY and everything else is moving. Man, a lot of red on the screen today. So, Peter, I know a little bit different setup today. I'm not sure if we have any major top news to cover. I don't have that slide, obviously, but anything major going on with the overall market and anything we should expect today as far as economic data?
Oh, yeah, so pretty light day for North American economic news. The only thing of note is the Chicago Business Barometer, which is the PMI number, which is coming out at 9:45 this morning. So we got no 8:30 news. That one's 9:45. Not expected to be a huge impact. What's having much more of an impact on the markets this morning is the fact that the Nikkei, the Japanese markets, opened very down sort of overnight. And they're down. We don't often talk international markets, but they're down a little over 2% this morning. European stocks seem to be following suit, and it's dragging everything down. The North American market. It was expected this week to open with a little more concern, as of course we're getting closer. We're almost upon this. I think. Trump is now calling it Liberation Day in the U.S., where the tariffs, the unknown tariffs, are going to be announced. And that's got the market nervous. And as we know, nervous markets don't usually fare well. So international markets seem to be having a reaction. Again, related or not, you make your own call on that, but definitely we're seeing a little bit of a retraction on the global scene. And of course, North American markets, as expected, are being nervous. The Wall Street insiders who have been interviewed over the last couple of days are saying, they haven't had this level of uncertainty and nervousness since the pandemic hit, and there's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines. So not unexpected, I guess, that we're seeing the North American markets dip down a little over 1% so far this morning. And like you said, Carlos, if I look across my screen, geez, pretty much everything is red.
Yeah, a lot of red on the screen today this morning, guys. Over here you can see what's gapping down, gapping up. We'll go over those right now. There's a few there that somehow are gapping up this morning. We'll dive into those. First one on the list is going to be CORT, which is gapping up today a whopping 99% up this morning right now with 868,000 shares traded. So we got a nice big pop here. Started going this morning at 8 o'clock. Obviously, Conserp Therapeutics. Peter, maybe some news on some kind of phase trial or something. But yeah, this thing is doing pretty good, man. Up 99%. Float on this one is actually not bad, 93 million. So not a lowish type float. That could be a possibly tradable today.
This is so weird. I don't have your screen prompts to tell me where you're at. So, all right.
Yeah.
Corcept? What a weird name. Corcept Therapeutics. It's Monday, Biotech Monday, and we're actually seeing relatively few of them up on the list this morning. But CORT did announce a phase 3 trial on a drug. Look, they are literally curing cancer, or at least trying to cure ovarian cancer. So that's the news that's got them gapping up this morning. Carlos, this has been on our list before. I have seen it. I can't say that I've ever traded it, but man, this morning 95%. Actually, that's not a bad move up. And what is this? A low float? It's not even a low float. So I don't know. It looks better than I thought it might.
Yeah, actually, the flow of 93 million is pretty good. So, I mean, I'm going to add this to my list. How tradable it's going to be, who knows at the market open when we get the actual heavy volume. But right now, this thing is on fire, man. I mean, this thing opened up at $52 pre-market, and we're sitting at 104 right now. So it's a spicy one. We'll keep it on here. We'll see how this goes. CORT. I'm going to put it on my secondary list because I think it might not be tradable if it continues to move that way.
Yeah.
It might just be way too risky. So if you're going to trade this one, if you're feeling a little spicy this morning, be very careful with that one. Next on the list.
Just on that, Ben E in the chat room is mentioning that it's got a $1.30 spread. I see that spread going between 70 cents and about $1.50. You would expect that pre-market. You know, that'll probably tighten up once the market opens, but you've got to watch the volume primarily, right? If the volume starts to shoot up and we get sustainable increased volume, then that spread should tighten. But yeah, it's probably not going to get any better than about 20 to 50 cents would be my guess. But if you're going to trade it, it's a buyer beware all the way through.
Yep. Next one on the list doesn't look as pretty as COOP, and I don't have my garbage truck to throw at this thing here, but I would do that if I had it on this computer. Up 24%, only 200,000. This one is a lower flow at 61 million. But again, pre-market action, you can see here, it looks horrible. You have these lines going across with no volume whatsoever. Again, it just doesn't look good. I'm not think I'm going to be watching this one.
Yeah, this is a buyout, actually. They're going to be bought out by Rocket Co. Anyways, acquiring Mr. Cooper Group. And wow, I wouldn't have thought that this is worth as much as it is, but apparently it's a buy all stock deal at $9.4 billion. So big mortgage merger here. Mergers don't tend to trade well, so we could probably just move on from a trading perspective.
Yeah, let's go on to the next one here. It's going to be HUT, which we've seen plenty of times on our list in the past. I haven't seen it in a while, but today they're up 5.4, 1 million shares traded. Are these guys still doing mining, crypto mining? I remember they were involved in that a while back.
Hut 8, oh yeah, I remember these guys.
Yeah, so it's been a while since we looked at this ticker, but again, they're here this morning, up 5% with 1 million shares traded. So might not be great, but they definitely got the volume this morning.
Yeah, look, this Hut 8, they're jumping on news that two of Trump's sons are expanding the Trump family portfolio of cryptocurrency. Hut 8 seems to be a beneficiary of that. I'm staying away from it.
All right, we'll leave that alone. Again, it's got some volume here. You got a good move to 1490 down to 1121. So there's some movement there. We can see how it does at the market open, but right now we'll keep it off the list. We'll come back to it. Oh.
Yeah, that being said, since we're talking crypto, we might as well look at Bitcoin and what it's doing this morning. It's been down over the weekend, and like the rest of the market, I thought it might actually make a sort of inverse recovery, but it absolutely has not. Sitting down at around 82,000. If you remember on Friday, we were sitting around 87, 88,000, and it's definitely had a decline over the weekend. So yeah, it's not looking strong, to be honest, at this point. So, but it's still in that comfort zone that I keep talking about. I am convinced that Bitcoin, as long as it stays sort of above the 75,000 and under the 100, it's not going to do much of interest. It's got to get beyond those ranges, and then we're going to be able to find some trading opportunity in it, and the related stocks, of course.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Again, a lot of pain across the board here. You see it, CLSK, MARA, all these tickers are just down with the overall market. I mean, things are not pretty this morning. All right, last one on the gap up list is going to be HYM, so HMY, Harmony Gold Mining. These guys are up 3.4, 219,000 shares traded here, so you can see a little bit of pop. And somehow they did good on Friday too. So again, a lot of stocks sliding down on Friday. Many of us were traveling, so we didn't get a chance to enjoy that sell-off on Friday. But this one managed to go the other way. So Peter, what's driving this higher today and even on Friday? This thing is moving the other direction.
I think it's just the gold prices. This is a gold mining company, and gold continues to be strong. Probably because Brian's buying it all. So. But gold has been strong over the last, God, how long now? Like 6-8 months? Yeah, I mean, it's really been booming. And Harmony is a gold miner. It looks like it's just taking advantage of that to buck the market trend this morning. I've never liked it. Still don't like trading it. I'm not going to pay any attention to it. So.
Yeah, we'll leave that one alone. I'm getting questions on YouTube. How was the TEDx event, guys? I mean, It was just awesome. How great was the TEDx event yesterday in the last couple of days?
Yeah.
There's the answer. So just incredible. I mean, we've been talking offline, me, Peter, and all of us, like, how are we going to top this next year? I mean, this was just awesome.
We figure we're gonna need Cirque du Soleil performers or something to
It's going to have to get very spicy.
Somebody on a trapeze, imagine that going over you, that'll be just in the middle of the trading. It's been a great conference. For those of you that haven't had online, who haven't had the opportunity to join us, we started with the TEDx on Saturday. And then, of course, yesterday we had a full day of conference and trading information, and this is our third and final day of the event. And it's been a whirlwind, pretty fantastic. Great presenters, great material, some good food for thought, and and of course the opportunity to meet with everybody and have conversations and just go out. Hey, we went clubbing on Saturday night. Yeah, that's right. So had a lot of fun. It's been a great event.
Awesome. All right, guys. All right, that covers our gap up. Peter, before we get to the gap down, anything you like that might not be on this list that's gapping up?
The only thing that is green on my entire screen here was one that we were looking at last week, which is MLGO. Remember that one, the micro algo?
Yes.
And MLGO seems to somehow be holding a 9% increase this morning on pretty decent volume. So, it's been on this tear for a week now, and it looks like it's able to continue it. So I'm actually quite surprised because, there is no specific catalyst for this morning. It's just, it's continuing to just push itself higher. So fairly impressed. I honestly, if I had to put money on it, I would have guessed that it would be, sort of giving some of those gains back, but it's actually building upon it. So if you're looking for something green, try that one. And the volume's there. Almost, what are we sitting at? Like 1.5 million shares traded so far this morning, so not so bad. But Carlos, other than that, it is red, and more red.
Yeah, all to the downside. I'll put this one on my secondary. I mean, the volume has been dying down over the last couple of days, but again, it's managed to somehow stay in the green, make a higher pre-market session today compared to the last couple of trading days. So let's see where this goes. Somehow this thing is managing to stay above water here. All right, on the gap down list, guys, everything is on here. I mean, you name it, it is on here. There's just a ton. We're not going to be able to go through all of them, but let's look at maybe the top three. And we kind of talked a little bit about Bitcoin. I see IonQ on here, Mara, everything is on here, Hood. We'll obviously look at Tesla, and we'll leave some space up to take some tickets from you guys. But let's start with the first three here. Nvax is leading the way this morning on this gap down list. They are down 12%, partly because they're a lower price stock. They started the day around $7, now down at $6.16. So it's causing that big jump on the percentage. But Peter, is this anything as far as individual news, or just are we looking just on the overall landslide this morning?
I noticed that when I was just looking at mRNA as well, that Novavax and Moderna, they're both on the list, but I don't see any specific news. If anybody else knows what's going on out there, maybe I'm just missing it, but it seems a little suspicious that they are both moving when we haven't seen either one on our list for a while. We certainly know that they were two that were heavily involved with the COVID vaccines, and of course they've not been selling as well as they had been in the past. So, but usually it's some administrative change or a change in the legislation that pushes these things. And again, I'm not seeing either one of those impacts specifically this morning, again, unless I'm missing it. So,
yeah, you know what? mRNA looks much nicer. I like the pre-market on this one. Nvax looks a little bit funky, but mRNA could be interesting. So I'm going to put that one on my main list because I know we're going to be heavy on tech today, especially the way that things are dropping. I would like to see something different other than Tesla and Nvidia, which are for sure going to be on our list. And I see PLTR already making its way up here on the gap down list. So just want to have a different sector represented in my watch list this morning. So I'll keep mRNA here. They're down quite a bit. I think it'll be worth taking a look at. The next one on here, we cover mRNA already, and Nvax is the Bitcoin. I see Bitcoin. We kind of covered this already, Peter. You kind of went over it. I do see IonQ here dropping down 6.3. They seem to be leading the way as far as Bitcoin goes. 1 million shares traded. I don't know, man. What's your favorite today out of all of these that are gapping down as far as Bitcoin goes?
I'm not sure that I like any of them, to be honest. I'm not going to pay close attention to Bitcoin. Like I said, as long as Bitcoin prices sit in the range that it's currently in, I'm not going to risk it. Especially when you get some of the weird news out there, right? I mean, I'm not that fond of, you know, when you get the Trump news and the administration in investing in different cryptocurrency. That wasn't Bitcoin specific, it was more crypto generally, but it just creates that uncertainty, right? Because you never know when that announcement is going to push it higher or lower, and that could just disrupt any trade that you're taking. So if you like them, I mean, usually by default, I go back to Coin and Mara. Coin is actually my favorite generally for trading, because I like the price range, I like the way it moves, but I said for today, I'm staying away.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I don't think they're worth being on the primary list, but I do like Mara for a secondary. I mean, big drop on Friday, obviously. The pre-market action has 1 million shares traded. So if we can get some kind of news going here, or even just the overall market bounce, I think this one has a lot of potential to move to the upside. So I'm going to put it here on my secondary list for now. It's just the only one I'll watch for the most part. OKLO is one that's always on our list. Today they're down 7.1, 470,000 shares traded.
Yeah.
Hard to borrow with, is this Interactive Brokers? I don't have my regular setup, but I'm assuming it is. So no shares to show with Interactive Brokers, Peter. I'm not sure if you have that there. But
I see, hold on, it just says short here. I've got 350,000 shares for short.
okay. Yeah, I'm on a test setup here, so
Okay.
that might not be correct. Okay,
Yep.
Excellent. So you do have shares for short. Awesome.
Yep.
Again, I personally don't like the pre-market action. I think we're going to find better things to look at today. So I'm going to keep this one off the list, Peter. Thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, there's no specific news. I think it's just moving with the market. It's always been a higher risk type stock. So, and one that, you know, I keep an eye on all the time, because I keep waiting for it to do something fun, to be honest, and it never really gives me an opportunity. So,
Gotcha, man. All right, let's look at one that I know our community loves, and I'm sure I'm going to get a text on it. Hey, look at this, PLTR, right? So PLTR this morning, we are down 7%. Volume is looking awesome, guys. 3.6 million shares traded. And again, this stock has been all over the place. We saw the huge gap up. We had back in February, the sell-off after that, back into this gap area, and now down some more. Obviously, this drop off in the last couple of days given the overall market, but man, this stock just gets the volume and can trade very well. We've seen it trade very, very well. We've seen Andrew and you guys in the community just take amazing opportunities on this one. So I will put it on the list today. I like the volume. I like the way it's moving here in the pre-market. I think it'll be an active one. So thoughts on it, Peter?
yeah, 3.7 million shares traded already. PLTR has been very active. It's one that, again, it does give trading opportunities, but you really have to be careful. It can move, especially right at the open. It can be quite erratic, and those open movements aren't always indicative of where it's going to go. So moving with the market, down about 7% today. It's absolutely in play if you want to play it. But that being said, you know, so much is in play. I mean, heck, we've got Nvidia down 3.5%. We've got, you know, Tesla down. What is Tesla down now? It's down $15, down 5%. So yeah, you can sort of pick any one of our favorites, and they are in play.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of Tesla, I'm going to add it to my list. Obviously, that's going to be in play today. So we'll add Tesla on here. We also, you mentioned Nvidia, so we're going to add that one as well. I think these are going to be heavily in play this morning already. Nvidia with 8.5 million shares traded, so you can see the action here. And again, hitting some of those lows from the month so far in March, right here around 311. So could be interesting today, of course, given the way the market is moving. So those two are going to be on my list. Obviously, they've been on my main list forever because they've just been that good, that in play with that much volume. So they'll be on here this morning. All right, Peter, let's get to SMCI. Then maybe we can hop around a little bit, see what you like, see what other people want to suggest for us to look at, and we'll just make sure we take some tickets from you guys. SMCI this morning, this is down to 5.5, 1.2 million shares traded. Daily looks interesting as we've lost a lot of the recent support, especially this month. So we're making a new low here in March. Could be interesting, man. I like this one. It can trade well. It's a hit or miss at times, but maybe today could be a day where we can get some opportunities on it.
Yeah, I'm never certain about SMCI. It's one that has just been like too crazy for me in a lot of its trading. I'm maybe just too cautious for it. Interesting, they did have an announcement over the weekend. They're talking about, I like the low-cost AI. Is that it? We've turned the corner now where we're going from, performance at any cost, which is normally the way tech pushes start, right? Where it's like, it's big AI, there's billions being invested, all of the big companies are getting their fingers in it too. It's always, there's always a point at which they're like, how do we do it cheaper? And of course, that started with the some of the Chinese stocks that came out that said, hey, we can do it at a fraction of the cost. And it looks like SMCI, maybe this is why their CEO has been so bullish on the expectation that he's going to be able to add 25% to their revenue to hit that $40 billion number that he's promised. But suggesting that they've now got a low-cost AI solution, performance solution that they can sell to the market. So, it feels like it's the wrong day to be announcing that. So maybe that's just kept them, gapping less than they would have otherwise. But We'll see where it goes. I mean, it was down more this morning, right around 8:30. It looks like it's turned around and is heading a little bit higher. So SMCI's, always been in play, at least for the last, how long? Like 4 months. So if you like it, go for it.
Yep, absolutely, man. All right, let's stop here. I mean, your favorite tickers on the gap down list today. Everything is on here. Peter, before we get to some tickers from the room here, anything that you like that maybe we haven't discussed yet?
You know what? I really, look, I'm not going to have much of an opportunity to trade today as we support everybody here in Vancouver and live in the room. But if I was sitting in front of my terminal at home and focusing heavily on the markets, I honestly would be sticking to the stuff that I'm most comfortable with and most familiar. Guys, I always talk about my same list, but I would even narrow it more. It just feels like there is so much uncertainty in the international markets coming into this open this morning that I'd be looking at, probably no farther than Tesla, AMD, and Nvidia. That's it. That's all I would look at, because I think you get enough movement on those if you're willing to take it that it's probably going to give opportunity, or not. Roy, we could just end up chopping, but that's me. Like I'm ultra conservative and ultra cautious when it comes to this, and this type of open is something where I'd probably be sitting out anyways. So yeah. But for anyone else, if you want to focus elsewhere, I was scanning down my list. Everything's on the move, right? All of the Mag 7 are down 1 to 2%. Meta, Microsoft, Google, all down about 1.5%. It's a buffet. Pick what you will. A buffet of stocks. Yeah.
Absolutely. We're getting a little bit of a bounce too. Like if you see Apple and some of these Max 7s, they're bouncing back from the session low so far a little bit, but again, everything deep in the red. All right, guys, let's get some tickers. So maybe if you just raise your hand if you want us to look at a ticker, and then we'll get to announcements. I guess we'll do any announcements we might have for the day, and we'll go from there. Then our traders, Brian and obviously Andrew, getting ready to rock and roll in just a couple of minutes here. So any tickers you guys want us to look at? Yep.
I know you mentioned Oklo before.
Yep.
But are you looking at that one, or you're just like that straight away?
No, I know it's on the gap down list, and it's down quite a bit here. I don't like the pre-market action on it right now. I mean, that could change. We've seen this stock get the volume at the market open, so it could be a good secondary. I do like the daily on it, how clean this is. But I just think today, man, it's just going to be looking at the SPY, looking at the market, and seeing where the direction is and who's getting the clean volume. I think this one's not going to probably be the top of my list, So, but I do like the daily on it.
Yeah, by the way, OKLO, I know I say this all the time, but it's a NYSE stock. Anything that trades on the New York Stock Exchange, I'm always nervous of a little bit, just because the patterns are different, right? And it's driven more by the market makers. If you do want to pay attention to it, go for it. Just wait for that volume to come in, because I've watched it. So many of these things will completely change personality the second you get the volume, and when it happens, right? You'll see that big candle of volume come in, and it's not usually on the first minute, so it can be on the second or third minute or later. Mike.
All right.
Sorry.
Any other tickers you guys want to look at?
Did you get the password? Wi-Fi password? Yep. Andrew needs it. Sorry, we're talking.
Okay,
sorry.
no,
All
sorry.
right, guys, sorry. We're dealing with administration in the room. We were trying to get Wi-Fi to Andrew here. Andrew always causing problems, eh?
All right, guys. So any other tickers you guys want us to look at? Somebody else? Hood. Actually, yeah, Hood's been interesting. Out of all the cryptocurrencies, they've been crypto tickers. These guys have been doing pretty well as far as movement. So we've seen some good trading out of it. Today, it's just pick your favorite, man. I have Mara on my secondary list, but if you look at Coin, if you look at Hood, they all look the same. They have the same setup where they have a little bit of volume. Hood actually has 1.5, which is a lot more than Coin at the moment. So between Mara and Hood, pick your favorite. But they all look pretty similar. You know, they've been selling off over the last couple of days. They're just getting a little bit of a bounce here. But the volume on Hood is really nice, actually. And again, it's been trading pretty good, man. We've seen some good action out of it.
Yeah, and you just, well, you just sort of called it a crypto stock, and it is in part. I've been impressed at how Hood's been diversifying, right? They're taking on the banks, offering a banking service. They're willing to manage your investments. Be cautious. They're willing to do all sorts of things. Interesting, this weekend there was an article that came out that said that the New Jersey Division of Gaming Enforcement sent Hood and one of their partners, Kalshi, a cease and desist letter on their some of their gambling, NCAA college basketball gambling activities, and said that there's unregulated and unauthorized, and they need to stop that activity immediately. Probably not going to have a massive impact on Hood stock. I don't. I think this is something they were just participating in a minor way. So not a major part of their business activity, but it's never good when an authority gives you a cease and desist order.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right, man. Yeah. All right. What else, friends? Any other tickers? Who? Lululemon.
Lululemon. Well, we should talk about it. We're here in Lululemon headquarters in Vancouver.
Is that building that we passed by coming from the airport, is that their headquarters with the Lululemon sign on top? Is that it?
Yep.
Oh, okay. All right, well, they're not doing so well. they're down here another 2.4. Again, we got great volume on Friday. I just don't know if today you're going to get that type of volume. Look at this daily, right, how light it gets. So it depends on your strategy. If your strategy is something you can trade with lighter volume, this could be one. But, man, the way I trade, Peter, Brian, and Andrew, I mean, it's going to be all about volume. And I don't think this is going to be top of the list today. And, again, I'm going to be putting a lot of weight on what the overall market is doing. And I just don't see this one. Now, again, big sell-off on Friday, maybe an overreaction, but I just don't see this one being in play this morning. So this makes me think of GameStop. What is GameStop up to? I mean, we saw that one.
Yeah, they were both Friday talks. I mean, Lulu had earnings last week. Interestingly, they didn't really get any downgrades, but there was 3 different ratings agencies that just lowered their target price on Lulu. What I found even more interesting was the fact that they lowered their target price to be at a point still above the current price. So again, you guys know, hey, you know, one of the things I've been asked all weekend is, when are you going to have a rant? And everybody's like, give me a rant. I didn't realize how popular or unpopular they are, but anyways, so I can rant forever about analysts, because I just don't understand why there's value in that. Like, as a trader, an analyst rating, frankly, gives us absolutely no value. Like, you can't do anything with it. And the fact that, okay, so we're talking Lulu, the fact that they've lowered, like, I'm looking right here, so different agencies have lowered their price target to $385, $309, and $411 respectively. What is the current price? $285. So, okay, so you lowered your price to those points? That's not helpful. What do I possibly do with that? Anyways, analysts have always annoyed me. As you guys probably know by now, back in my corporate life, I had the opportunity with my old company to deal with the analysts, and it just amazed me, their process, that literally we would bring them in, we'd spin this big, it was a whole marketing effort. We'd spin this big tale about all the glorious things the company was doing. We'd take them around to see a couple of departments, and literally you just have people say, just look busy, and they would be like, oh man, look at how busy the company is. It looks like prospects are good. And then we'd get this glowing analyst report. And I'm like, they don't have a freaking clue. Like, because I was an ops guy, so I know that the projects are all like, behind the scenes, everybody's running around going, ah! Anyways, but so anyways, whenever I see an analyst rating, I'm like, yeah, whatever. They're spinning whatever story they want, or whatever story the company told them that they want. So Ugh, there you go. There's my rant. Yeah, get off my lawn. That's.
No, you don't have to do anything. Everything is through here. Once you get the mic,
We knew
you're
he'd
set.
find
You
something
don't have to do
legitimate to
anything,
rant
no.
about.
No. All right, awesome, friends. Okay, guys, I'm all set. My list, again, I won't be trading today, but we'll be helping you guys and walking around here. But if I were to trade, it would be mRNA, PLTR, Tesla, Nvidia. It's what I like this morning. And again, all eyes on the SPY, man. Just overall market and see what's happening there with today's action. So it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be a great day for trading. A lot of uncertainty in the overall market. I think that's going to drive a lot of volatility, hopefully. Not a whole lot of chop, right? So hopefully things start moving in one direction and giving us just a great opportunity. So, all right.
I'm just looking at all the comments in the chat room. People
Yeah.
are like, on
From
the
your
rant.
rant?
Maybe it's the stage, because I got to give a shout out to Tim Sykes. Timothy Sykes was here with us over the course of this conference and was on stage. Now, you want a guy who can rant. Tim Sykes went on a good one over dinner for us, so he apparently has got a soft spot for reporters and the media. And anyways, anyone else you want to mention? I think he was on a roll that night. I mean, I was exhausted just watching him for 10 minutes. I don't know, he keeps that up all day, but.
Peter, what? You're talking about was exhausting, the rant? Out of all people?
Well, watching his rant is exhausting. Maybe that's the problem. It's energizing giving them. It's exhausting watching them. So I'm sorry to everyone who has to watch them.
All right, friends. Okay, guys, let's set some levels here. We'll do this. We'll start with mRNA, PLTR, Tesla, and Nvidia. Then we'll hand it off to our guys just to make sure that everything is good with the tech as we do live trading. So on YouTube, friends, we are going to be live trading. So Andrew and Brian will be up next. So hit that thumbs up. You'll be able to see that this morning as well. All right, so as far as mRNA goes, we got plenty of levels towards the top here. Highs and lows for the last two trading days looking pretty good. Low of the pre-market is down at 26.11, which is also marked here. And then towards the bottom below that, you really haven't gone down here in quite some time. So there's not a whole lot of levels down here at mRNA. So you're pretty much set there when it comes to levels towards the top, and then we'll see how this goes. Again, down 11.6. 1 million shares traded so far, so looking pretty nice. PLTR as well, as you can see, highs and lows for the last two trading days towards the top. And a lot of these are going to look this way because we've been selling off over the last couple of days. So towards the top, you're going to have plenty of levels. The only one I will mark down here is going to be this one here at 73.37. So definitely put a level on there. 73.37 is going to be a good one right over here, 73.37. So definitely there. That's the next level I see. But right now, 79.98. It's a great daily on the level. We're holding on to that. So hopefully you see the battle happening here in the pre-market right now, right at that level. So definitely a place where PLTR wants to stay above at the moment. Tesla has, again, more downside, down 5.8 right now. We are setting a pre-market low at 246.67. Nice bounce, a couple of bounces from there this morning already, so really trying to stay above that. And if you look at the daily, that's an area where you're seeing a lot of touches here, a lot of resistance over the last couple of days since we've been down here. Below that, you're going to see a level on the daily, 238.53. You can see it right on here. A couple of days slamming into, that's a good one. And then all the way down here, in case we do go down there, 230. We were there for a while, bounced pretty quickly a couple of weeks ago from that level to 290. And now we're back down to 248. So again, Tesla moving just a ton on the last couple of days. And last but not least, Nvidia is going to be on my list here. And you can see here, low of the pre-market, 104.70. Same thing as Tesla, right? A little bit of a double bottom in the 5 minute here in the pre-market, bouncing back from the pre-market low sessions. And if you look at the daily, an area where we have bounced before, went all the way up to 122. And now we're again back down to 105 on Nvidia. I mean, who would have thought, man? So let's see what the market brings for us today. Again, a lot of weakness all across the board, red in the screen everywhere. I think it's going to be a very interesting day, Peter.
Yes, it will. Let's talk about, just for all of our members out there who are looking to see what's happening, let's talk about our agenda for today because we don't have as much of our regular schedule, I guess, as we normally will. The onboarding class tonight will not be happening. Carlos is here with us in Vancouver as we finish up this conference, so that will not be happening. What will be happening, Brendan was telling me he was going to do the DAS Trader Pro session, so if he's around, you can confirm that. But I know he's here, but he said he was going to be able to do that at noon, so you should expect that in the onboarding room for anybody that's new that wants to attend that. Or, tackle him personally. Oh, Oh, we're good. Okay. I thought I heard my mic go off. So that should be happening at noon, but all of the other sessions are off. I haven't heard whether Avi's going to be doing his options session, which is normally at 11. However, for anybody that knows Avi, he's probably going to be either wandering around in a house coat or in the hot tub, or both. So there he is. Yeah, hot tub. All right, so he's good for he's hot tub. For anybody that doesn't know, if you travel with Avi, if there's a hot tub somewhere, just follow him. You will be in it in a matter of moments because he will find the hot tub no matter where it is, even if he has to hop a fence to get there. So anyways, that's his go-to. So yeah, it's no options trading meeting today. For our all of our moderators, most of them are here and are not going to be trading today. I see Andrews has got his list in already. He's going to be focusing on the top ticket items of Tesla and Nvidia, and he's also going to keep an eye on SMCI and PLTR as he goes live trading up here on stage in front of everybody. I've got beside me, if you're looking at the camera, Brian as well. Brian, what are you going to be watching?
I think I'll just be sticking with keeping it simple. Nvidia, Tesla, maybe AMD, PLTR.
Oh, there you go. Nvidia, Tesla, AMD, and PLTR. So you can see where everybody's focusing on some similar stocks there this morning. So should be an interesting morning, anyways, as these markets open into this uncertainty. Again, keep in mind we do have the Chicago PMI number that's coming out at 9:45. Although that takes a back seat, of course, to the big anticipation of tariff announcements, which again. Look, with this administration, you never know exactly what's going to come out or when, but there could be leaks of news. There could be different information that comes out. Again, the White House has said that they're going to come out strong with a negotiating position, which means we can expect that when this so-called Liberation Day happens and these tariffs are announced, they're going to be probably prohibitively high with the expectation they're going to negotiate them lower and settle somewhere that's reasonable. But again, the markets, do not like this level of uncertainty. So I think we're going to see sort of a mild or continued sell-off, if you can consider what's happening now mild. But as we go into the market, I expect volumes overall to probably be relatively light. But I could be wrong. It could be people, that decide or change their position stance as we go into this open today, and we see a little bit of increased activity. One way or the other, there's probably, if you're cautious in approaching it, going to be some trading opportunity this morning. So we'll see what happens. Just be careful, please, everyone out there, because this is the type of market that personally terrifies me because I don't like uncertainty like a lot of traders or investors. So whatever you do, be careful. All right. That being said, Carlos has already left the scene. He's gone. I'm like, where'd he go? So we are going to get to our live trading here in a matter of minutes. For those of you that are watching, so you may have mentioned that we're far away. You can see us on the camera there. I'm waving at everybody in the chat room and on YouTube. So we've got our big pole cameras at the back of the room, focused up on the stage here, where we've been having our live conference in Vancouver for the last 2 days. This is day 3. As we bring it to a close, we will be here live with you, live trading, both in the chat room and on YouTube for the next hour or so. And then we're getting back to some of our conference material. We have another few presenters that are coming. Everybody here in Vancouver, we're up bright and early, 5 or even earlier to get into the room. If I could turn the cameras around, you can see we got a room full of people all getting themselves all set. Looking for the market open. I'm impressed, everyone. You all got yourself up. We haven't even fed you yet, and you're here. So hopefully you did get some coffee. There will be breakfast later, though. Don't worry, it's coming. But that'll be a little bit later after we get through this market open. I am still watching the red across the screen, and it does not seem to be abating, does it? We are still down about 1.2% on the Qs. The SPY is down. Actually, it's a little bit better. It's down 0.8%, and it has been slowly increasing ever since about 8:30 this morning. So look, if we're lucky, we may even get back to break even. But we'll find out together here as this market open edges ever closer. There's certainly, again, a lot of opportunity out there as you focus on a couple of stocks. Tesla looks very active this morning. I actually like the way Tesla's moving. It's inside that tinfoil line I like to talk about that has that 8 a.m. candle movement. If I look at that, we certainly were above that much earlier this morning, but all of the price action since about 7 a.m. has been within that tinfoil line or that candle, which remind you, Thor named that lovingly a while back. He had this original crackpot theory on this line, and we're like, it doesn't work, and then started watching it and realized that it can sometimes provide relevance. So far, again, Tesla's trading well within that tinfoil line, so we'll see how well that holds up as we get towards the open. Nvidia, on the other hand, has actually come out the top side of that, so I don't know, it's not that relevant in that case. And where's my buddy AMD? What's it doing? AMD is just within the top end range of that candle. So yeah, so we got a little bit of a mixed picture out there as to its relevance, but we'll see where that takes us. How about some of the other stocks? Where's Apple? Brian's yelling Apple at me over here. Let's take a look at Apple. Yeah, Apple is the best performing of the Magnificent Seven so far this morning. I mean, it's still down, but only down 0.3%. And it's the last. I know I mentioned this before. The last few weeks especially, I've really noticed Apple move against the market. It's been a little odd that way. Whereas, most of the rest of the market and the Magnificent Seven stocks have been moving in one direction. And Apple hasn't been afraid to sort of go against that and either do nothing or move in the opposite direction. So maybe today is another day when it can make the play. Hasn't been great trading, I'll say that. I really don't like the way the trading price action has been overall in Apple until you get past the open. I've actually had a couple of really good trades later in the day on it, but I will not touch it at the open because I can't figure it out. But I know that a few people have been trading it quite effectively at the open, but I just can't. I would much rather focus on Tesla and Nvidia or an AMD. All right, we've got some comments coming in the chat room on what's happening. Yes, we are still live in Vancouver. That's what you can see. We've got Andrew who's doubling up. He's got his camera on him right on stage. Smile, Andrew. There you go. And as well, he's getting ready to go live in for all of you on the microphone. So, do you need a mic? Are you gonna?
I'm gonna switch with you.
Okay. All right. So, guys, give us a second. Why don't we do this? Let's get the switch over. We'll get you over to our live traders. It's just going to be a minute. What the heck is that? A minute of tingly sensations, and then we'll give you Brian as I hand over my mic to him. So 1 sec.
Yeah. Hello. Good morning, everybody. Woo! Where's that energy? Come on. Yes. For those of you who are coming from East Coast, that's how we do it in the morning. Like 5 a.m., a lot of coffee. Good. So thanks, everybody, for coming. What a day. Market is gapping down. How's your 401k doing? For my style of trading, the days like these, I'm not really looking forward for any other stocks in play, just the usual suspects. PLTR is down 7%, Tesla 6%, Nvidia 4%, and I think these three, SMCI 5%, these three and their leverage products are going to be enough. So as we get to the closer, guys, if you could keep the room quiet, especially at the back team members, that would be awesome. So focus at least for the first half an hour, and then we slowly, start having a conversation. Is there any questions so far at this stage from me and Brian before the market opens?
Move the tables together. They can just shift over too.
No question, really? Anything about life in general?
Okay.
All right, so that's it. So again, today is a special day because the whole overall market is gapping down. And I'm not personally looking for stocks in play.
And quiet spilled over the room.
I'm sorry, just give me 1 second.
All right. Everybody ready? All right. Let's get ready to rock this market this morning.
That being said, for everybody who's in the room, if you have questions about trading, feel free, have your questions, but just grab the person whom you want to talk to. Our moderators are walking around to give you a hand. Just take it outside of the room, as we mentioned yesterday, not like 8 inches outside the door, right? Go into the other rooms that we've got available for you behind this one, and by all means have that conversation, but we'll keep it quiet while we're doing live trading. Being said, one of the things that everybody was asking about, they're always curious about other people's platforms and what it looks like when they trade. I know, Andrew, no less than 3 people have approached me and said, I want to see, what does it look like when Andrew and Brian trades? So they're very curious as to what your setup and your system looks like.
Well, first off, Andrew and I are both trading with stuff that we normally wouldn't trade with. Like I'd have to dig these monitors out. So this setup isn't obviously what I would be using at home. So it's certainly not as good. So you still have to make do. Used to a few more monitors, not just all these computers set up all over the place trying to monitor everything. Yes, yeah, pun not intended. Come on, no joke, no laughter, no. That was a marginal dad joke. All right. Well, as everybody, if you've traded with me before, you probably know this is not the kind of market I like to trade the open with. I don't like big gap up, big gap downs days, so that tends to be a little bit more challenging. Market's trying to find a new value area, and we'll have to see where things go from here.
Yes. All right. So for me, again, guys, usual suspects, Nvidia, Tesla, PLTR, SMCI is good enough. Again, today is a special day. The whole overall market is gapping down because of a macroeconomic situation. We might have some stocks in play for news or earnings. But again, today is a day that I probably won't pay a lot of attention to them. So someone asked me yesterday, Andrew, what are you looking for in the pre-market? And how do you know which one to select? So one thing that I really like in the pre-market is the amount of volume and the uniformity of order flow. Like for example, if you look at NVIDIA, there's a really nice, levels, very clear levels that we have here. Like, find my page down, yeah, see, very nice level at around 104.81. This is like a double bottom in the pre-market. It's not a very weird price action in the pre-market. It's really nice. Same as Tesla. Tesla has really, really nice 247 low of the pre-market kind of level. So this is a good pre-market activity. And of course, the volumes. NVIDIA has just 10 million volume just now. Tesla, 6 million volume. These are the things that I'm really looking forward to. PLTR, 4.4 million volume, and still we have 10 minutes to the market open. What I'm looking at right now is the low of pre-market in all of them. For example, PLTR 79.50, Tesla is like 247, and if you can get a good short entry for them, for the break of low of the pre-market. On a daily chart, you know, when you look at it, we'll see what's happening in the daily chart. On a PLTR, if you see in my bottom right screen, obviously the low of early March was around 74. So if we sell today, we can go all the way down to 74. Is it going to go down? I don't know. Like, here's the thing. Today might be a day that can rip significantly, or it can just continue going down and test the previous lows. Most likely it's going to stay weak until tomorrow, and people see what's going to happen. Then we have something in trading. It's called, what is it called? Biden rumor, sell the news. Yeah, all the way goes into the bad news and then do the completely opposite that you're thinking. So it might go down all the way, and then the day that the tariffs come in effect, actually start rallying up. So we really don't know what's going to happen. We just have to be ready for all the scenarios. Good thing is right now, the market hasn't gapped down more than 10%, like Tesla is 6%, PLTR is 7%. Short selling restriction is not on yet, but if they go more than 10%, the short selling restriction comes in, it means that you don't get filled on the down tick. You have to wait on the uptick to get filled. Still shortable. Mr. Pezim, how's the humanity?
Well, we're down a fair amount this morning. It's kind of what I expected to see this morning, but we'll see how the market reacts. I think there's a lot of anticipation and concern about what April 2nd is going to bring, but we'll see. This is interesting. See how the market reacts today. A lot of the tariff news and the tariff concerns have already kind of been priced into the market, or at least we've seen a lot of selling down into this market on this news. So we'll see if we still have more downside. What have we got here?
All right, guys, before the market opens, I want to do a selfie. Everybody! Woo! Guys.
Can you see anything with those lights?
We are trading live in Vancouver. We are 200 of traders. Woo! That is awesome. Thank you so much for coming, guys. The energy that we're doing together, it's going to be totally different. There has been research that in the big yoga retreats, like the energy level, like even with these micro, very, very micro sensors, they actually, measure that. When there's a big group of people doing something, put all of their minds in something, there is impact on it. Like Hajj, which one of the biggest things that Muslims do in Saudi, 1 million Muslims going to do a ceremony. It doesn't matter if you're religious or not, it's just the energy that environment catches you. And I think it's for trading too, like we are all focusing on the market. And again, for me today, it's not about trading or making money. Like you see a lot of our moderators are not trading. For me, it's about just doing some good analysis, good trading, good education, good learning. It doesn't matter, $500 more and less in my account. So that's why it's all focused about together focusing on the market in the same room, because I do believe in the power of energy that we're all bringing to this room.
Yeah. So let's channel that energy into making some money.
That would be nice.
Making money. Not a lot of movement in some of these, a lot of these stocks this morning. Nvidia, Tesla, AMD, PLTR is kind of what I'm focusing on right now, but just not a lot of activity, and not a lot of movement. We've been pretty much kind of flatlining, trading in very narrow ranges. So I would expect a bit of chop at the open, so don't get too excited. could see some kind of movement up and down right away.
Yeah. Mike, I need you. Mike, I need you.
Is anybody watching anything sort of unique or different? I mean, we've got the usual suspects.
So what happened? Now I lost the screen.
Where?
So I took it out and then put it back. And it's not coming back up.
Okay. There we go.
Oh, perfect, yeah. Which screen is going to select?
All right. All right, got 2 minutes to the open, everybody. Let's get ready to rock here. Apple, I'm going to throw up Apple on my list as well. It's kind of looking interesting. Might retest Friday's close. Getting a little bit of volume coming in here as we're getting closer to the open. Tesla.
Just leave the live trading. Sum it up till I give you the thumbs up, Mitch.
Nvidia's looking a little bit weaker going into the open. Same with AMD.
So it's not displayed.
So what is this?
Because you probably have it on your 4000K.
It wasn't like that. And now which screen is that if he puts it on?
This screen right here is up. We have a screen preventing it until you're ready to.
Okay, so put it on. See, I can expand this one.
All right, AMD's dropping a bit, Nvidia's dropping some more, Tesla's rallying a bit as we're getting into the last few seconds of the pre-market.
Maybe you want to separate it and do it again.
Yeah, separate it.
It's going to be interesting open. We'll see how things go here as we get ready to rock. Here we go. Ding, ding, ding. Opening bell. All right. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's better than nothing. Yeah.
I don't think there's
Let's keep it
really
I'll expand this one. Yeah, let's keep
nothing
it as is.
to get too excited about yet. Let's just see what happens. Nvidia's rallying back up. PLTR is making a move here. Again, I haven't traded anything yet. I'm just waiting to see kind of what shakes out here.
All right, Tesla is strong now. So when I'm trying to set up my screen,
Yeah, just
Waiting
Tesla's
a minute.
hanging around the VWAP right now. Not to 250. It's losing some steam here.
now Tesla is not weak, strong anymore.
Again, it's
Still, yeah.
we're still sort of in chop mode here. PLTR kind of looks interesting. Tesla's got some big orders to the downside around 245.
Still holding the VWAP though. I see second minute is closing like a doji, is trying to hold. We'll see now close below the VWAP. I don't want to short it for some reason. I feel that there is still some buying pressure.
I've shorted a little bit of Tesla, just small size.
Yeah, it sounds like a interesting trade. What's Nvidia doing?
Here we go. It's making some money
Yeah,
on Tesla.
Yes, that's a good
Tesla.
drop.
Where's Paris?
Yeah, that was.
You know what to say. I love you, Tesla. There we go. All right, I'm trading some options here on Tesla, so trading the 240s, 240 puts. So I'm just selling some here. It's up a buck. It's up $1.20 from where I got in. There we go. Yeah, there. That's what I'm looking for. Now we're up $1.50.
Yeah, Tesla short
Here we
was a
go.
nice one.
Yeah. Selling some more here. 970. Yeah. Yes. Here we go. So we can get to $10 here.
Wow, yeah, Tesla short was amazing. Yeah. The whole market is selling off. The Qs are selling off. I missed the short on it. I'm trying to see if I can find another entry on them, maybe a pullback. Yeah,
There we go.
Tesla's really, really
There we go.
selling off.
$10. We're at $10 now on these 240 puts. Oh yeah, right through there. All right, I didn't take a big position, so I'm running out of these puts here. So
Right now, so there's a quick bounce on this Tesla. Might be a good place to add a little bit, enter in there. I'm trying to see, yeah, let's see if we can get some short here in Tesla.
we're coming down to S6 here on Tesla. So maybe an area where it could bounce.
So I got a partial fill on it. I can't see myself. 244.60. Here, stop loss is a little bit tricky. It's a little bit too extended from the VWAP because I missed the move. The Brian's entry was amazing, just right around 248. Again, my resolution of my screen messed up. So now this pullback is nice. If you can say a little bit more on that, Q's still selling off like crazy. See if Tesla can get a breakdown. Could be a 5-minute green range breakdown. Q's at is 4. So now it's becoming like a 5-minute green range breakdown. Like my average is, again, it's just not a super nice entry because my average is 244.17. So let's see if stop me out or not. Qs are slowly bouncing back. It's the same as Nvidia probably.
Tesla's starting to bounce a bit here. I'm pretty much cleared my position there on Tesla, so just flat right now. No positions.
So this is my entry. You can see it in my chart. So my stop loss, if it's VWAP, it's kind of a very, very big loss, stop loss. If I want to put my stop loss at this R, but I probably would put my stop loss around here, because if he really comes above this thing, it might probably get a stop, goes test the VWAP as well. So I have to give it some room, and then I get a stopped out if really, right now. So for example, you see I can leave it this one on the screen, so it looks like it really wants to bounce back again. And because it was so extended, because I didn't get a really good entry like Brian, I took a smaller size. I took a much smaller size. So I took only 1,500 shares here, which is considered as small for me. Yeah, so I'm getting a stopped out because this pop was very strong, and now 5-minute becoming like a, kind of a slowly becoming like a bullish candle. So that's, for me, it's very important to stop out. If I had the entry like Brian had, so again, I cleared this one, If I had an entry like Brian had here, my original stop loss would have been somewhere around here. I can leave it on the screen. And now I would have been still fine. If anything, I could have actually added more on my short here and bring my average somewhere around here. But now it's popping back up. That's okay.
Tesla's coming back up.
Yeah.
It could be an area where it could potentially short again.
So Nvidia is making an engulfing. So on a 5-minute, again, looking at the 5-minute, sorry, the resolution of my charts got messed up.
They have gone short again on Tesla, just for this rejection here.
Let's see what the market doing. Tesla is coming up. I'm testing the VWAP. Let's see, Nvidia is trying to become like an engulfing, but again, it's not a long right now. It's not long until it really closes above the VWAP. I did mess around here because when I covered my short, I got long for 100 shares and then I sold it. But if Tesla comes above the VWAP, I might actually trade it long for the bullish engulfing. We'll see what it does. Qs are still down 2%. Nvidia, PLTR did a very weird price action. SMCI is coming. SMCI is becoming like an engulfing.
Okay,
So the
I'm short Tesla.
Yeah. So Brian is shorting Tesla.
Again. Yeah, here we go. Oh, this is nice. Thank you, sir.
I don't like the short on Tesla because this candlestick at 936 was super bullish. I don't know if you want to test the low of the day again.
Yeah, I'm not very small size. It's just seeing where we can, if we're going to reject here. This is some moving averages.
Looking at what Qs are doing.
Here we go. I'm going to take a partial here on this pullback. I'm not sure how deep this pullback is going to be.
So SPY is at
Seems like
549 holding.
Yeah,
If anything, I'm actually thinking of maybe Tesla could be a long.
Yeah.
It looks holding it.
Yeah, there does seem to be some support here. So
I'm going to get
out.
some long on Tesla,
Yeah,
247, 28.
And I'm out of the rest of this short.
Now here, if I want to do the long, so I'm actually kind of expecting it closes above the VWAP. It hasn't done that yet, so that's why I took it, smaller size. And I probably have to put a stop loss like half of this candlestick somewhere around here. If it really goes down, it's probably going to go break the low of the day here. So this is the low of the day. Although I don't really have a trade book, this one was one of those more like a gut feeling trades. If it was closing above the VWAP, then it would have been kind of a bullish engulfing that you can actually go higher. But
Nvidia's breaking down here. We're going to low of day right now.
yeah, I'm going to get stopped out on Tesla, guys. Yeah, that was a bad long. If anything, Brian would have been right. It's a short.
Just, as long as they're staying below the VWAP.
All right, so SPY broke the low of the day.
Wow, Nvidia's heading lower here. We're retesting some areas in Nvidia that we haven't seen for quite a long time.
Nvidia is breaking down 5%, Tesla 7%, PLTR. PLTR hold the low of the pre-market very nicely at 79.60.
I'm going to put on my Megan hairdo and talk about longer time frames. It looks like, obviously, Nvidia is going to be. Just looking at the longer time frames, it looks like Nvidia sort of into an area that there could be some demand, or just around 100, 102. So it's still could have potentially some more downside, but as Avi likes to say, all these areas of support are they're just areas. They're not hard levels. So just have to be aware that Nvidia could find some support here, just looking at it on a weekly chart. So.
All right, so Tesla sold off more? No, not yet. Yeah, PLTR sold off. SPY making low of the day.
AMD is really into an area where there's been some recent support. It's around 95.
Tesla on a 5 minute, I want to wait what it does. It hasn't made a new low, so 5 minutes, how many minutes more left on this? 2 more minutes. But let's see if it makes a higher low or not. It looks like
Okay.
the market is weak, but it's not. Yeah, Qs are also testing the S4.
Just kind of interesting observation. I'm not trading Apple, but it actually has gone green on the day. So there you go, little green apples coming up on the screen. So for some reason, people are liking Apple today.
So here's a weird situation right now for me. I don't want to short anything right now because I think that it's a little bit extended. But although I don't want to go long either because I'm not really get the confirmation that we might get a bounce. The good trade for me was Tesla short in the minute number 3, which I missed it. And then after that, it kind of messed up my whole planning.
Yeah, that's
Either market have to come back above the, VWAP showed really good strength to squeeze it, or maybe it sells off way more and then we try to catch a bounce on it. It looks like it's going to go lower. Okay.
That was kind of unfortunate. You had like a technical issue right at the open. Man, that just screws.
That's part of trading. Yeah, it happens.
Screws you right up.
So Qs are testing low of the day. SPY is selling off.
Yeah. Yeah, PLTR melting down here, AMD melting down.
Yeah, Qs are.
Tesla back at low of the day now.
Yeah, you want to stand over there? Yeah. Yeah, sure. You can do it now. Yeah. Just. Oh, wait a little bit, like maybe 20 minutes. Yeah. All right, so Qs broke the low of the day. Tesla 243 fighting back.
Yeah, Tesla, okay, so Tesla is retesting this low of day here. Let's see how it reacts. It's still, Nvidia is still struggling. AMD really kind of rolling over here right now. PLTR, same thing. It's dropping. We're not getting like massive selling drops, so it's not, I wouldn't say this looks like a panic selling. It more looks like people selling and just no buyers willing to step in here yet. So it feels like a bit of a buyer's strike right now. And as Peter had mentioned in the pre-market show, a lot of uncertainty out there in terms of what's coming down the pike. So investors, traders, businesses don't like uncertainty, and so what they usually do is just step to the sidelines and just wait for an environment where they feel a little bit more certain about what's going to be happening. So again, just sort of a lack of real buyers wanting to step in and take positions right now. So we're getting a little bit of a bounce here at the markets.
I'm gonna take another long on Tesla here. Looks like it wants to hold this double bottom. It's a small size. Let's see if we can get to 245.
What is it?
One thing that I noticed is that the market went to new low of the day, but Tesla didn't. And 5 minutes, as you see here, is kind of holding. Let's see if we can go toward the VWAP.
So for Andrew, small size would be like 100,000 shares
No,
of Tesla.
like 2,000 shares. Let's see. If it goes above the VWAP or close to the VWAP, I might actually add more on my try to again focus here. What I noticed was the Qs really made a new low of the day, but Tesla didn't. Again, it's a little bit too early to catch reversals, but maybe found him get bottom. So it's already popped up. So here again, the risk to reward is very important. So this is my entry on my chart. This is my come on. So this is my entry here. Stop loss could be the low of the day or just near the low of the day. So I have to, partial in the first R if I want to do that. So you want to give it some room for the bounce. So you don't want to get a stop loss too early. Again, this double bottom bounce is a little bit too early right now for the time, but it seems that there is a little bit of a divergence here because Qs are really making low of the day. SPY is making low of the day, but Tesla didn't.
Yeah.
So
Tesla really has to. Tesla would be more a real more interesting long if we can get above some of these moving averages and the VWAP. I think it'll probably you'll probably get some more buyers stepping in. So I would be keeping an eye on this area. This is where sellers are sitting right now.
yeah, I'm adding a little bit more on it. Let's see.
Yeah, it could be an interesting long here on Tesla.
And guys, this is my entry.
Even SPY and
My stop loss is somewhere around here. And this was a good signal. This candlestick tried to come down and bought back up. So you see the Qs also doing the kind of the same move. If I can get to the first R, that's that partial. Oh, there you go. And again, I had one stop loss, one loss here. So again, you have to look at it in the probability. So I had one loss here, and I had one loss here. So I'm kind of 2R down. So if I can get 2R, I come to break even. Although this position is a little bit bigger than the other ones.
So you can see here we're still. This is where the sellers are sitting on Tesla. So again, if we can get some of these sellers to step aside, I think you'll see a nice move up on Tesla from here to the long side.
What's the bookmap saying on Tesla?
There's not a lot of orders to the upside, unfortunately. There's some bigger orders down below, and there's a big order at 240. As Megan pointed out yesterday when someone asked her about bookmap, it works till it doesn't. I mean, some of these, all of these tools and indicators that you might be using are none of them are 100%. And people have said before that they just blindly assume that because there's a big order there, that the price is going to gravitate to that order, but that's not always the case. And Tesla does look quite interesting, actually, for long at this point. Again, it's kind of do or die right here.
All right, so see, Tesla is now popping up.
Yeah,
Again, I held this, risk to reward thing in there.
Gonna
So
ma-
now it's
there you go.
reaching to my first R. There are a couple of things I can do. I can actually add here a little bit, see if I can actually get a little bit of more pop on it. I get a partial fill on that. So now this is a really nice squeeze above the VWAP. Could be a shorter squeeze. So this is what we want. Now, see, that's you
There we go.
become, you know, profitable for the day.
Yep. There we go. Joined.
So again, now we're kind of around 2R here. Even though, and remember, I add more of my position here. My average is now, I got actually some partial fills. My average is 246 right now. So my average is here. Oh yeah, I got a lot of partial fill here. So now my average is somewhere around 246. So the question here is I probably have to get a stopped out if it comes down around this area. So 5 minutes is now interesting for me. Again, for my again, people are using different indicators. 5 minutes, we're making a higher, higher, higher low right now. So again, looking at always 2 time frame. So the 5 minute is showing really, a bullish pattern. The moving averages here always a resistance. This is what I found that 1 minute and 5 minute moving averages, they're always really good resistances because the slope of the moving averages are very important. So it shows that the overall, oh, there you go, nice squeeze.
Here we go. Yeah, you saw that, how it got through the area and came back, retested.
Perfect. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
that's so 3 trades. The third one profitable. I'm actually in positive now.
Very nice.
Now we might actually go. So this is a very bullish candlestick. This is like a squeeze. This is like whoever is short down there is going to get a squeeze. And again, this is way more a stronger move than the whole market. You can see the cues here is happening, it's slowly happening. But this one is definitely much, much a stronger squeeze. And again, for me, it's very important. It's not about the money that we're making here. It's about the thought process, that how you can actually accept 2 loss and eventually get 1 really nice profit.
Nice.
Anyone in Tesla long with me?
So there is some orders here at 250 on Tesla. If we can get back, if we can get to that level, that'd be cool. All right, that's the way we do it.
So okay, so what's happening in the market? So what do I see in the price action right now is, again, understanding the price action. So Tesla is making this higher high and higher lows, which is a very bullish pattern. Very bullish, pattern is happening. The candlestick, the second candlestick is very bullish. We have the high of the day that potentially we can break out. But the key here is these moving averages on the moving average, they're acting as a resistance. So we got to get out of these ones. Should I add? Possibly, it could be a good, place to add around here because I think the way that it's going up, it might actually go test the high of the day. So the high of the day is definitely another target that we can have. But now, the position, adding is very important because you don't want to bring your average very, very up. So I probably have to keep my average somewhere around 247, which is the VWAP, because we might come and test the VWAP. But this is a very, so far this is a very, bullish change in the pattern. You can potentially trade TQQ as well. So this is a pattern that, happens in the market. SPY is above the VWAP going back toward the high of the day. Now Qs are happening, TQQ. I'm sure Nvidia is also, somehow like that. But Tesla was a much, much nicer move that it had.
AMD had a nice comeback as well.
Yeah, and now Nvidia is going above the VWAP.
Yeah, Nvidia's trying to get. Nvidia still has a lot of it. I think has some. Still has some work to do to get through some of these moving averages in the VWAP, which is here now. SPY has come back up, and we're kind of we're right at the at an area where we opened. So SPY has come back and recaptured what we lost from the open.
So let's see what Nvidia is doing. SPY is definitely climbing up toward the high of the day. Let's see if Tesla stops me out or not. I am up $3,700 on Tesla. So see, I came out of the losses and I'm profitable.
Very nice. So you can make money in a stock going when it's going down and when it's going up.
I'm going to add a little bit on Tesla here. Bring my average maybe back to near my average 247.
Yeah. It's got a nice little bounce there. There's an area where there were sellers are now buyers.
Yeah, so my average is now at VWAP. So again, if we can get to the high of the day,
Big push there, big volume
big
push
push
on
here,
Tesla.
251 is somewhere, the high of the day is almost 251. Again, do you see the size of the candlesticks? These are big sizes. These are really volatile days. So this candlestick turned out to be super nice. This is a very bullish candlestick. It would be nice if you can actually take the test of high of the day. See, Nvidia is closing above the VWAP.
All right, well, SPY is, PLTR is back at high of day. AMD is actually kind of breaking out here.
TQQs, let's see if Qs is actually closing above the VWAP or not. Qs are also closing above the VWAP.
The market rallies, and Apple seems to be the contrarian trade today. Apple's gone back into the red as the markets have been rallying. It's kind of weird. Apple's maybe a safety trade.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, so the price action, what I see is kind of bullish. I don't want to short anything. So the question is, can you short here? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't have any indication right now that is showing me that this might, go down. It looks like, again, the 5-minute is still trying to make a higher high, higher low. This is also in the market, like Qs are going up. And I like that. Today you actually saw a couple of really real things. Like, you get platform problem right at the open, the moment that you have to focus. Then you miss a move, you kind of chase it. But I was aware of it that my first short is kind of late, so I took it in only 1,500 shares, a smaller share size for my actually account size. And then you try to catch another trade a little bit too early, so a premature trade. I got stopped out, but eventually the trade that you were thinking is show itself, and then by good adding into that, you actually make all of the profit back and become a very profitable trader. So now, looking at the Tesla and Qs at the same time, very, very similar pattern. Qs are trying to come above the VWAP. The moving averages are usually in the 5-minute chart is the place that, there are some resistances. And again, these are the type of analysis that I have. I look at the patterns on the chart, on the price action. Like after me, there are two quants are coming. These are the people who look at the market in a very different perspective with a microscope. They have a tool that they look at the options activity, and if there is any option wall in the option chain shows a potential squeeze. So these are different group of people, different scientists that look at the market with a different tool. Like Brian is sitting over there with a different tool, but looking at the book map. So for me, I'm a pattern recognition person with the price action. And obviously, it's more primitive, but maybe I'm like a GP that look at you, do some tests, do analysis, but send you to a specialist with the better tools to do the MRI, to do the CT scan, to get a better information of the market. For me, has always been recognizing patterns, and it's a very simple way of starting the trading, but sometimes, you need to actually add a little bit more tools to your trading to recognize these patterns.
Exactly, and just took a long here position on Teslas. We got through 250.
So Tesla is going toward the high of the day, and this is a pattern that happens like a SPY is making high of the day. So again, this is my original entry. This is another ad. This is another ad.
Yeah, very nice.
And now this is a really, really good place for me to start partially. So
Right.
this was a very unconventional trade. Like this was not an A plus setup. You know, you're trying to catch a reversal below the VWAP on a very weak day, but it requires this experience of analysis. Is the room too loud for you guys? Just get a feedback. Guys, if you keep the loud, Brendan, keep it down, please. Yeah, a little bit in the room. Yeah, a little bit more.
I know it's hard to contain the excitement, but we're all making money. Hopefully, people are making money in the room today. A couple of nice trades on Tesla.
Yeah, so I sold more position. How many shares do I have left? I don't think I have a lot.
Yeah.
I have only 1,000 shares left on Tesla, and I'm up $12,000. Again, two bad trade, or not bad trade. The second one maybe was a bad trade, but the first one was a little bit late. So yeah, I think that concludes my own, trading. What time is it? Like it's 7, it's 10 o'clock. That's usually how I trade. From now on, rarely even in a normal day I trade. Now we are in this environment, definitely I don't want to trade. So yeah, that concludes my day. It's essentially 3 trades. If I want to go back, look at my thought process analysis, if I didn't have that problem, I probably would have taken a short here at Tesla. For a 1 minute opinion range breakdown, but I didn't because of these issues. I did try to take a 5-minute opinion range breakdown. Again, you can look at my 5-minute chart. I tried to take a 5-minute. It went down a little bit, but eventually got stopped out, which is okay because I knew that I have a lot of room to the VWAP, so I took a smaller share size. The second trade was kind of a premature trade. It was a little bit too early. I kind of anticipated a bullish engulfing, but that's okay because I took a smaller size. And then eventually we got this double bottom reversal on that. And the signal for that, again, I don't have a trade book, really educational trade book on that, but the signal was market was making low of the day, but the Tesla wasn't. And for about 15 minutes, it really held this low of the day. And eventually this candlestick squeeze was a sign for me that, okay, let's take a double bottom on that and then put this reversal on that.
Yeah, and so for me, obviously, the Tesla short, really liked the way it just, it kind of hung around a few minutes at the VWAP, and then it just, I could just tell by the price action. I was just watching the price action. I could tell that sellers were there, and they were stepping in, and there weren't any buyers to
Any
hold things
question at this moment from the audience? Yes. What was the confirmation for the second?
First, when you started the trade.
The short that I got stopped out.
No. When you went in the trade at the beginning.
So the profitable trade, So this trade you're talking about, yeah. So the trade that it was profitable, the question is, what was the confirmation that you had? The confirmation for me was a couple of things. First of all, this is important because, again, it goes into the price action understanding that you had. The confirmation was the Qs made a new low of the day, but the Tesla didn't make a new low of the day in that time. So that's called divergence. The swing traders use that a lot. When sometimes, something bigger happens in the market, but on one stock doesn't happen, means that there is a divergence, and the divergences are usually very powerful. Shh, guys, quiet a little bit. So the divergence is one of them. And then this pop-up, this candlestick was a sign for me that, we failed to test the low of the day, and then this candlestick was popped up. But I wasn't 100% sure on that. Like I was maybe 50% sure. That's why you have a reasonable stop loss on that. So I wasn't 100% confident on that. This ad was much, much more significant because this is a really, really good confirmation that I had. very strong bullish squeeze candlestick through the VWAP. And most of my money I made here, not over there. So most of my money on the third ad that I had that was very, very profitable. And again, what I see right now is the market is above the VWAP. I have no concern about getting stopped out because the Qs are, making these higher high and higher lows on a higher time frame. We are in a very bullish trend. The question is, am I going to enter as a new position? The answer to that is not, because it's just too extended for me to get anywhere. Any other question? Yes. Yeah, I have to look at it. I think the first one I know I took only 1,000 share here. And on Tesla, I can go up to 10,000, 5,000 to 10,000 shares. So it was like 20% because I knew this, I kind of missed the whole move. Brian was still partially. Brian was covering his position when I actually wanted to enter. So that's the thing. Even for the second trade was like probably 500 to 1,000 share here, then I got stopped out. This one, I think together, I went up to 500, 600, 1,000 to maybe 1,500 shares. I have to look at it, yeah. But again, very more aggressive. When I saw that we closed above the VWAP, I already got that. 5 minutes is super bullish. Then that's when you get aggressive. That's why it's a very good idea to add heavy on the trades that is working for you. Any other question?
Any questions, guys?
Now, really, really nice break of high of the day. And again, that's it. You don't need that many trades. I'm profitable. I'm happy that I actually managed my two first trades very nicely. This is very important. I didn't know actually how much money I had. I closed that window specifically to not look at it and focus, especially today, on good trading. Because sometimes you can start wrestling by the over trading and become profitable. But today, for me, the goal was to analyze as much as possible that how we actually trade, how we manage the positions and the risk management.
PLTR is looking kind of interesting as well here.
Brian hasn't given up yet, so he's really looking forward for trade.
I'm just making some observations. It's again, the SPY is pushing to a new high here. Same with the Qs. It's getting a really nice run here.
Another really nice divergence was PLTR and Qs. PLTR is a high beta stock. It means that it really drops significantly more than Qs. But at the open, I have the chart open. This is the PLTR, and this is Qs. So PLTR for the first 5 minutes even didn't lose the VWAP. So that means that PLTR wasn't ready to go significantly lower, while the market overall was going down way more significantly. So when a high beta stock like PLTR isn't selling off, then maybe there is some sort of a bottoming price action, because usually when the market starts selling off, the high beta stocks sell off way faster. Usually people get rid of their garbage stocks first, like PLTR. That was again another divergence. And as you see here, Qs haven't made the new high of the day yet, but PLTR is ripping the high of the day because the high of the day on PLTR was here. So that's a divergence. It means that people are buying high beta, more volatile stocks. So maybe that's sort of a bottom. It's not the bottom, but this kind of divergence in the short term can give you some sort of a bounce price action. This was, I noticed that why PLTR isn't selling off, while Qs and SPY are selling off.
It's because, and PLTR is somewhat of a meme stock, so that, it's got the same sort of cachet that maybe a Tesla has. So these are the stocks that are, that the people are going to sort of look at and see buying opportunity on pullbacks like this. So So Tesla's kind of struggling here to go higher once we push through that nice 250 level.
So again, I want to repeat that my style of trading is pattern recognition on the chart with the time and sales. Other people use different tools. And something that I actually promised myself this year is to start learning more tools. I think in terms of learning, I have been plateaued in the last couple of years. I'm not really interested in even learn more things and stuff. And I got some feedback yesterday from someone that Andrew, as a leader, you should start learning, because when you learn, the community learn together. And it's a very valid point. Other people are really adding more tools and more trading style and structure. But I myself has kind of plateaued. In life, I've been too busy with climbing and other stuff. But maybe I have to come back and learn more. Like, for example, after me, there's a really nice tool for recognizing these squeezes by options, spot gamma. And I told them when they reached out to me that I'm not learning, and I want to learn that. I should learn that tool and see if I can actually help me become better at pattern recognition. Like, I'm like a doctor, I'm a GP that kind of making good money, and I have my own clinic. I'm, my family, patient clients and stuff. I don't want to become like a specialist, but maybe I should start learning and adding more knowledge to myself. And if I see that it's making me very confused, then I stop. But again, trading is a really evolving field, and you have to constantly learn. And I got this feedback yesterday from members that, Andrew, you got to start learning. You got to talk about options as well. You got to do these kind of things. And I think it's a valid point. So I promised myself and to the community that I myself become actually a little bit better at learning these new tools that are available for traders.
Yeah,
Again,
I've got a book for you you can check out.
Brian is selling his book right now.
I'll give you a free copy.
Yeah. So how do they want to connect here? Start their
they'll
stuff?
connect
Yeah.
right to that.
So again, so now we have a presentation with two very, very high-profile people. They're founder and the CEO of a company called Spot Gamma, and they've developed a tool to look at a lot of these moves by options activity, because the option activity is super important. That causes a lot of big moves on the market, like the GME short squeeze. Like a lot of these gamma squeezes is because people who significantly trade options, they can, and market makers really hedge their positions with the market, and this kind of big activity, it really impacts on the option market and the volatility that brings into the price action for us traders. So there is a tool. They explain exactly what it is, and and show you some examples. Would you like to introduce them?
I just
yeah.
need to get their computer set up.
Yeah. Oh, and before that, I want to take one picture, guys, from this side with you. Just come, Adrian. Brian, come here for a picture. I want to take one picture with everybody in there. This is the white lens.
Yeah, it is.
Everybody cheer! Woo! Thank you so much, guys. All right, so that's it, guys, for me. I am closing my Tesla position, so because I am down, so it turned out to be $16,000 day for me. And yeah, that is a wrap.
Thank you, guys.
Good to go? We're good? I'm gonna test it.
Hello. All right. How y'all doing? That was some very exciting trading to watch this morning. I really enjoyed that. Learned a lot. Thank you very much. For those of you who don't know us, my name is Brent Kachuba. I'm the founder of a group called Spot Gamma. This is Matt. He's the CEO.
Hi, everyone.
And what we do is we analyze the options market to inform you as to how the options market can influence the underlying stocks that everybody's trading today. So I heard a lot of market makers and Tesla trading and all sorts of different things like that. And what is interesting about that is that a lot of that flow you're watching, we're going to make the case that is sourced from the options market and options trade. So we're going to explain that in a little presentation. But I was asked first to go through what's happening in the market right now. Obviously, there's a lot of volatility in the market. You can see up here we're down about 1%. Obviously, everyone's pretty aware of that. I saw the trading. I want to ask everyone in the room a quick question, though. Anybody know why the 55-65 level is important today? Anybody in the room? What you got? The collar. All right. As a man who speaks my language. All right. What is the collar? The collar, if I zoom out on this chart, this is the collar. Now, what he's referring to is a JP Morgan hedge fund that rolls a big position today. That is a 40,000 lot options contract that has somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 to $4 billion worth of what we call gamma associated with it. Gamma is essentially options hedging flow. How do you hedge that? Generally by buying and selling futures. Now, what they're going to do some point today, they're going to roll this trade from today, which is March, to a June contract. So there will be about 120,000 options contracts related to that trade. And at some point between now and probably 2 o'clock, we're going to see that trade go up. Now that's important because there's about $2-3 billion worth roughly of what we call deltas that have to get hedged off of this. Now for those of you in the room go, what's a delta? Just know that's about $2-3 billion worth of value, notional value that's got to be hedged out. So there's going to be a bunch of futures, there's going to be a lot of zero DT options that swing around today, and we're all of a sudden going to see some move, and anyone who's not aware of that trade is going to be going, what the heck just happened? Where's the news? What do I do? And if you're watching the options flow, you're going to know that is the trade that is occurring. You'll see the options flow drive into that move. You're going to see the futures move. You'll see the trade print. And that is your idea, or that's your signal that it is the trade that is moving the market, not some type of other tariff tweet or something else that's happening. So what you're looking at here, this is what we call our trace system. What Trace is doing is it's giving you an idea of where exactly these market maker flows could come into and out of the market. And so on this screen here is this big bright shade of purple, and then you see there's a relative shade of kind of red, very faint red, right? Blue is buying pressure, and the red or the kind of neutral color there is a light selling pressure. So what does all this mean? Number one is this is that giant trade. Again, it expires on the close. They do not close, this JP Morgan hedge fund does not close this position early. They simply roll to the next position. Number two is you see all these blue bars on here. They're relatively much smaller, but what this is informing us is where are traders buying and selling calls and puts, and how are the dealers positioned? So if you see a blue bar on here, this is where market makers or options dealers are long put positions. That is what we call positive gamma position. What that means is that if the market starts to break down into this area here, the 5,500 area, they are supportive of the market. You can see that via these blue bars. Now, on a normal day, these bars are much bigger, but this strike is so big, it's kind of washing everything else today. Now, some of you are also saying, well, what's this purple line right here? Every single option trade that takes place, we measure what the potential hedging flow is from that trade, and then we project the line up, which means market makers and dealers likely have to buy, and these are the options market makers and dealers, likely have to buy to hedge the flow that's coming into the market. If that purple line's going down, they got to do the opposite. They got to sell. So what happened here today is the market dropped to 5,500 off the open. I was watching the guys trade, and they're looking at Tesla, and they're looking at the double bottom and things like that. Well, I see on this screen right here, we call this our hero line, just start to rip. And to give you a better idea of exactly what that means, this is the S&P options index flow. So this is the flow across the SPX, the spiders, and the E-mini futures. This is the options hedging flow. What you see here is the S&P traded down to 5,500, just below that level. And these two lines measure two different things. The purple line is the options deltas, or the hedging estimate of all S&P 500 trades, so all expirations. The teal line is just zero DTE trading. Zero DTE now, we're going to talk about its presentation shortly. It's about 50%, 55% of total S&P flow. It's huge. So what do you see here at 5,500? There's not really any put flow, right? Because if traders are buying puts, you'd see these lines going down. So the options market was not selling into the weakness. And when we hit 5,500, you could see these lines shoot to the sky, right? They go from about minus $400 million up to about $2.5 billion as the S&P hit its high around 5,530. So that's $2 billion buying the dip. They're buying the bottom. And we could break this down another step. I don't want to get into too much granular detail on this. But this dark blue line is put selling. So what happened? S&P comes down, traders start selling puts. The green line is zero DTE calls. They're buying zero DTE calls at that same time. This is what the takeaway of the zero DTE flow is, mean reversion. If you actually study this, what you find is market makers and dealers, yes, they're on the other side of all these trades, but there's a lot of retail people, or pro-tail we like to call them, guys like you and me and girls like you and me, who are buying the dips, right, with these zero DT options to express an upside move, and that means market makers oftentimes have to start buying shares of futures, et cetera, to buy that dip as well. So when you see the dip come in, you see zero DT call buyers come in, you see zero DT put sellers come in, market starts to rally. I'm not guessing at their behavior. I have an idea when I come in. We write a founder's note every day where I analyze this. I'll fill you guys in on this. But these are all the if-then statements, right? A lot of times in the markets, we're looking at technicals and we're looking at VWAPs and different things like that, trying to understand exactly what the impact's going to be. But in this case, what we're doing is we're watching the options flow to confirm the movement that we're anticipating, right? So we come in with a game plan and go, okay, if the market makers are going to do this today, there's a potential for a rally. If they do this, then we're going to hit resistance. And when you watch the options flow come in, you're getting that extra piece of confirmation that something substantial is about to happen. So when we look at this trade today, we wrote about this in our founder's note, what we're laying out. But we're going to see likely a bunch of buying flow, in my view, related to this trade, this roll that's going to take place today. And again, this 55-65 level is very important. I think a lot of you, maybe if you're sitting in the room, you didn't know about this trade, you may not have this expectation that volatility could express to the upside so much, right? Why does that 55-65 matter so much? Well, I wanted to, I shared this chart in our founder's note this morning, and I just want to give you an example of this. So if anyone's interested in this founder's note, if you want to read it, if you actually go to our Twitter feed, I posted a free link. We're going to post some other links later, but this is the September roll, okay? I just want to give you an idea of the kind of flow that I'm looking at today. So in September, at the end of September, we were up at 57.50, which is where the top strike of this JP Morgan position is. So specifically what this JP Morgan fund does, they sell usually around 40,000 calls, and they use that to buy a put spread to hedge their portfolio. We call this the collar. So the 57.50 strike was where the call strike was, because the market was rallying pretty strongly in the end of September. And look at this day, right? Here's 57.50. S&P is just kind of skidding along, nothing going on, nothing going on, nothing going on. And then what happens right here? We saw huge zero DT puts come in. They smacked the market down, right at the lows here, just above 5,700. You saw these options print. The new JP Morgan collar prints right there, and then what do? They immediately start buying zero DT calls, and the market rips higher. Now, the market makers, you got to remember, the dealers in this case, not the market maker, but the dealers, a slight difference. They're short. The fund is short these calls. The market maker, in this case, is long these calls, right? And these calls are held to expiration. So what did they do here? They moved the market down. They printed the new trade. Then they ripped the market to 57.60. They're long those calls, so they just made 10 handles on about 40,000 calls in the midst of all this other gyration, right? So the reason that I think today is so meaningful is because the collar trade is not always in the money, right? This is actually only the second time since 2020 that the put position has been in the money. So every quarter, obviously, I mentioned before, they roll this trade. So this is interesting to me because the dealers are short this put, right? And then we know they need to roll it. So they're ostensibly short this put versus short futures. And so if the market starts to rally, they got to buy those futures back. And they're incentivized to actually have this position close at zero, right? Because they're short those puts. If you're short a put, you want that expire worthless. So that is the flow that I'm seeing in the market today. That is the kind of expectations of what I'm seeing. We'll be watching for that order flow to start. Again, usually it's around, I live in New York, so I have no idea what time it is right now, but usually sometime around midday, right, we're going to see this print. The dealers change the way they operate every time they roll, right? And there's a bunch of different reasons for that. Some of that is P&L or hedging related, but other times this is a heavily watched position in the options market, and you don't want to be a sitting duck doing the same giant roll every week, right, or every quarter, excuse me, because people start to take advantage of you, right? So they kind of change the way they do it, the timing a little bit, and shift things around. I want to make 2 other mentions about this. Number one is they do a huge market on close trade as well with this. So you're going to see, those of you familiar with market on close, it's going to be probably in the billions, right? And a lot of people go, that's quarter-end pension flow. Some of that could be, but I also know for a fact that a lot of that will be related to this future, or to this collar trade roll. So it's very important to know. And then the second thing is, these strikes are very important to watch. And I'm going to talk about our presentation here shortly. You're going to see how these strikes are important, because if you look back over the last month, right, where do you see the low? So this is the 55-65 put right here that I highlighted, right? This is where we saw the VIX hit around 30. Look at where the market makes its low in here, right? Same exact area. And we talked about this through our founders notes every day, so I don't say this with sort of hindsight. This is a dynamic that we're talking about all the time. Because this is such a watched strike in the options market, it generates a lot of flow, it generates a lot of attention, and I think it's going to generate quite a bit of volatility today, persistent volatility today. So that's what we're watching for today. I think that's very just this overwhelming dynamic that a lot of people are not paying attention to. A lot of people are focused on the tariffs that are coming up here in a couple of days, possibly ISM data, et cetera, tomorrow, but there is this big trade, obviously, that could be very significant. One other thing I want to talk about while I have a few moments here of live trading. I have to start presentation 7:30.
All right, a couple minutes, yeah.
Okay, a couple minutes, sorry. All right. I want to talk about volatility and the signal in volatility. Does everybody here have an understanding of what historical volatility is or realized volatility is? So if I say, hey, 1 month realized volatility is, well, we can look at our chart here. I want to give you a rule of thumb that I think is helpful. So this chart here is what we call realized volatility. And this is very easy to calculate. You just ask ChatGPT, it'll calculate it for you. That top number there, that 20%, realized volatility is 20%. What does that mean? That means that on an annualized basis over the last 30 days, the S&P has been moving, the SPX index has been moving at 20%, right? And that's an annualized basis. You can directly compare that number to the VIX. So the VIX right now is at 24, 23, 24, call it, right? Why does all this matter? If you look back historically, you can compare them directly between the VIX and the realized volatility. The spread between that is 3.5 points. Why does that matter for everybody in this room? It's because you can use that as a barometer for understanding if the market is pricing in a lot of extra volatility or not enough volatility. And the reason I bring this up is because oftentimes the market prices in too little volatility, and that's a huge signal of risk. And sometimes they're pricing in way too much volatility, right? Which is a signal of too much fear in the market, and that can obviously sometimes be a turning point. So if you look back at this, that premium that I was mentioning right here was 10 points, right? The VIX was 10 points over S&P realized volatility. Again, you can very easily calculate this in a spreadsheet if you have SPX index prices. That 10-point premium is extreme. That's about as big as it gets. What does that tell you? Everyone was freaked out back then. The VIX was near 30. Everyone was really worried. And that tells us that the options prices are too expensive. When options prices get too expensive, it means put buyers don't want to buy puts anymore. And it means put sellers are like, hey, this is a great opportunity for me to start selling puts. Why does put selling matter? It's because dealers and market makers will start to buy futures, buy S&P futures when people start to sell puts. And it works the same way in single stocks. Now, that same premium right here, after VIX expiration and all that, went to -4. What does that mean? When the VIX was at 17, it was underpriced relative to realized volatility by 4 points. What does that mean? That means that everybody and their brother thought that, hey, the tariffs are over, we're going to get a deal, this is great, let's get in front of that rally. And instead what that's a flashing light, right, that people aren't pricing in enough future movement. So when you're sitting here and saying, what is the options market trying to tell me? If you take nothing else from me, hopefully I have a lot to offer you here today, realize that the options prices, when they're too skinny or too large, too fat, right, they're giving you a huge signal. And you can watch that relationship between the VIX and realized volatility as a great barometer. Now, if we get a tariff deal, the VIX is going to collapse. This is what we call Vanna flow. If any of you have ever heard of that, when implied volatility shrinks or the VIX drops, there's options flow that pushes the market up. So if we get a deal, the VIX is going to collapse, then that premium, right, to realized vol is going to shrink. That will make sense, right, because we have a risk-on sentiment. The risk has been cleared. People think the future will be more safe. That means that when the VIX drops, market makers can start buying futures and they'll push the market up. So that is really the dynamic that is setting up here. And I did some back of the envelope anticipation of what could happen of a positive tariff deal, and I just want to mention that. If you look at where the VIX could go, roughly 14 is where I estimate based on the same realized volatility metric. The beta between the VIX dropping and the S&P going up or down is 1 to 1.5%, meaning if VIX goes down 1 point, S&P should go up 1.5%. So in this estimate, I think that the S&P on a decent tariff deal, I think we're going to rally up in the 5,900 area roughly. And that's based off this idea that as the VIX drops, as the options prices decline, it'll bring this options flow and that'll help to push the market up. So that is the kind of, you zoom out a little bit, that's what we're looking at. To the downside, I just want to mention this. Right now, if we're at 20% realized vol, the VIX is at 2350-ish, that's not pricing in a lot of risk, right? All the VIX and options prices are doing is they're just reflecting how much volatility we've had. If you're really panicked about what's about to happen, there should be a big fat premium on that, right? The VIX should be more like 26, 27, but it's not. And when we look at this trace data here, we're saying, look, are there put sellers in here? Are there put buyers in here? Most of these bars, they're fairly small right now, right? They're small and they're generally blue. In other words, you don't see like a big bar like this, 55.65, down at 54.50, which tells me that hedge funds are buying tons of puts and hedging. They're just not, right? So when I look at this, I go, there's not a big vol premium, meaning that VIX is not very elevated, so there's not a big put premium in here, risk premium. Number two is, I don't see big hedge funds down here, long puts. So if the tariff event passes and it's just kind of like a not as bad as we thought kind of thing to even a good deal, then that means that there's going to be a substantial amount of options flow that helps to support that market and really move it higher. So that's the bigger picture in amongst obviously today where we have this 55.65 strike that is most important for today. So I hope that's helpful to put a lot of this movement and volatility into context. Matt, you got anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, great to be with everybody. If you want to transition to the deck now. So just what we do at Spot Gamma is we do what we call positional analysis. So Andrew came in, told you how he trades the flow in the morning, the time and sales. This is complementary. So Brent just went into a PhD level discussion with all of you here, and I hope you appreciated the level of depth that we provide. However, if we pull back now, we're going to walk through how do options drive the market, what does this mean to you, and then as Brent said, every day we provide support and resistance levels based on the options market. So by ourselves, we think we add a tremendous amount of value to your trading, but complementary to what you already do, this should be another tool in your toolkit. That as Brent said, coming into today, we could see, and I think only 3 members of the audience here raised their hand and know about the JPM collar. We can see when options are a big deal and when they're not, which is important. As Andrew said in the previous conversation, GameStop was a huge deal. We actually were one of the authors in the Wall Street Journal article in 2021 explaining how options drove the market during that squeeze. We see these squeezes weekly, monthly, all the time in individual names, and Brent today covered how that affects the S&P 500. So what we want to walk into now is how Spot Gamma and how the options market can help you think about how the broader indices drive your trading on a day-to-day basis, what that hidden hand is that you don't often see, and then also Brent will do a little bit more live take to round out the hour. So we look and see, what did Hero do? What did that impact show over this half hour while we do more content around broader options and come back to that. But there were lots of technical words in there, but pulling back, I hope many of you got a lot of that information. This will be recorded, it's on the site, but if you walk back and look at this and then compare after today, what did the market do? It went right to that support level that Brent identified. What did it do after? You could see that blue line jump up, which is a leading indicator that we have to show you that options are being bought in a way that provides upward positive pressure, so you can be more comfortable holding your longs or getting involved. And you can know where those exit and entry points are more attractive for your trading. So we'll dive into this presentation now. This will be at a slightly more beginner to intermediate level than the last part of the conversation. And then we'll do a strong wrap up at the end to see where the market's doing again, and happy to take questions. So thanks for being with us, and we'll dive in now.
Yeah, thank you. And sorry for that technical, little bit technical discussion. But the bottom line is, I think as we move up in this 55-65 area today, you see that signal that just VIX and volatility is giving you. You can start to put some of these pieces together, and then we can always help to backfill some of that. So first, risk disclosure, nothing here obviously is investment advice, and so do your own due diligence, et cetera. Let's just give a quick background. Matt mentioned a couple of things here, but again, my name is Brent Kachuba. I founded Spot Gamma in January 2020. I have about 20 years Sometimes I hate saying that because I want to admit how old I am, but I have about 20 years of institutional trading experience. I was with Credit Suisse and Bank of America. I also worked at a big options market maker called Wolverine. I was a broker there. I heard a lot of talk about VWAP again today. Interesting, at Bank of America, I sat next to who some call the father of VWAP. He's an interesting guy, Robert Almgren. Incredibly smart guy. And so I've seen how all the different aspects of how these markets have developed, really the electronification of trading since the 2000s. And essentially what we've done here is we've taken all this experience and we have now built an options platform that helps us to show everybody in detail how these options flows are moving the underlying market. Now, there's a lot of shock and awe, obviously, in markets today. Today, down 1%. We don't need to say any more about that. And we, quite frankly, don't see any reason for this shock and awe to stop, right? We were talking earlier that it's really fascinating that, you know, in the U.S. at least, they're telling us that they're going to take the economy's going to hit a speed bump, right? So I've never heard politicians really talk like that. And for me, that means that there's going to be a lot of volatility in the market. I love volatility as an options trader. I absolutely adore volatility. But one of the fascinating things that I've found, and we've heard this many times over our years here at SpotGam, I heard it a couple times here before, is people go, oh, I don't trade options. And what we're going to do is we're going to make the case here today that it doesn't matter if you are trading options or if you want to express your trades with options. You are being moved around by options flows. And so we have about a quarter or a third of our members at SpotGam trade just futures. They trade stocks. They actually don't trade options at all, but they know they need this information to help make them more informed with their trading decisions. Now, markets have changed a lot. You could feel those hidden forces. And again, this impacts you whether you trade stocks, options, or futures. We're going to make that case today. And not only that, we see these volumes increasing, as we're talking about here momentarily. We see these impacts increasing. The exchanges want to add more options data. We get more inquiries from hedge funds and banks all the time about this options data, so it is not kind of a fly-by-night thing. This is a very impactful flow that we've seen starting with GameStop back in 2021 and continuing on today. So with that, we want to talk about the 5 things you need to know from the options market, very simple terms, how it can help you gain an edge in today's market.
And real quick before we dive in, thanks, Brent, is that we don't expect you to trade options tomorrow or understand what these technical terms mean. We expect that we can help you understand where buyers and sellers will enter, how that affects the stocks and futures you're already trading, and then you can grow into options. The same way Andrew said today, you don't want your trading to overall plateau. We're always here to learn. Brent and I are learning all the time. I actually have a science background, and I came into the investing industry, and I was a portfolio manager at Biotech funds for 10 years. But when I started out, I didn't know what options meant, and everything I did was based on science. And then I had to slowly learn options. So again, we're now going to walk you through how are options really driving things, and it shouldn't mean that you have to make changes tomorrow to your trading patterns, but you'll start to learn and see what that hidden hand is doing that's moving your names right now.
So this is a chart here of 0DT options volume as a percentage of total SPX volume. So it's stable on a moving average basis. You can see it's about 55% of total volume is the SPX 0DT contracts. Now, 88% of this is actually retail options volume. So this is not all, you know, banks and other kind of very institutional players coming into this 0DT option space. Not only that, options volume over the last 5 years is up about 350% over that same time frame. Stock volume is only up about 150%. And as I mentioned before, there's no reason for us to expect that this volume is going to come down. In fact, February was record options volume according to the SIBO. I'm sure March is going to be even larger. So these options flows are only continuing to increase, and with that, we think the impacts of the options market to the underlying is only going to increase as well. So let's show you a couple examples now of how we use this flow to estimate market movement and find support and resistance. This example here, I do twice weekly Q&As with our subscribers and our members, and we were talking about Netflix and their earnings. Now on this day, this was just in January, Netflix earnings estimate was 7% move for the earnings report. What we did here is we looked at, in this little screen here, is the gamma positioning. So where do dealers have to do all their buying and selling? And what we often do here is we say, look, when you get to where these areas are, where these circles are on the screen, you can see these 2 curved lines flatten out. What you need to know here is that when those lines flatten out, that signals to us that the hedging flow from the market makers and dealers flattens out. They don't have anything else to hedge over there. So when you get a big news event or you get a move, right, an earnings event, et cetera, they have all this hedging to do up until a certain point, at which point they're fully hedged, there's nothing else for them to trade. And so in this case, you could see the Netflix implied, or the actual move after the Netflix earnings report was 14%. So you get double the expected move. Now, if you didn't know that all that gamma was there and that possibility was there, right, of that exacerbated movement, kind of like today when we're focused on this 55-65 strike, then your expectations for the possibility of volatility or the direction of volatility changes quite a bit, right? You have to you get this extra information about these options-driven moves that allow you to make more informed decisions. Let's talk about not a certain event, but a larger kind of swing trading type pattern. Apple is very interesting for the first start of this year, from January kind of through February, because it wasn't dropping kind of with the rest of the market, right? And then it kind of happened all at once. What's so fascinating about that, if you look at the 250 level, we call this our call wall, and that means that is where most of the calls are positioned in Apple. And we believe that those flows were attractive to hedging flows, meaning that hedging flows were supporting the stock into that level, and you could see it made 2 runs at 250, and it never went above that level. And again, this level that we were watching was stable from January 1st. So we believe there's a ton of hedging flow that stuck with that stock up until expiration, at which point this black line goes away, and then the stock released and came back down. So from a hedging flow perspective, that level is massively important. The second thing is, if you just forget all the Greeks, right? Forget the complex terminology here. Why is no one buying calls above 250? That's what this is showing you, right? The orange bars here are call positions. You see above 250, there's no call positions. So if all the hedge funds in the world and all of us in this room thought Apple's next gen whatever was going to be the best thing ever, wouldn't you buy more calls above 250? No. There was no movement even though the stock rallied to that level. So I was telling you from a sentiment perspective, positioning wasn't there for this rally to continue, and no one cared when the stock hit that level.
Yeah, so real quick, sorry, as Brent was saying, you don't have to know anything about options, but if you knew there was a strong ceiling at 250, how would that change your trading? And that's what we're showing you every single day. We update at 3 in the morning our daily levels on every U.S. stock and the major indices, and then Brent showed the real-time indicators during the beginning of his preamble when he went through live trading. But the point is that every single day you see support and resistance levels on every name you're trading from the options market. There's a question. Do you want to take a question now? Sure.
Sure. So the call wall is the strike that has the most net call gamma in a stock. We also have a put wall, which is the most put gamma. This is important from a hedging flows perspective because gamma tells us how much hedging flow is associated with the various level. And so what we believe is, and we see it in our data, when the stock moves to that level, the gamma is at its maximum. And that means that there's more hedging flows associated with that level. So oftentimes, it's interesting, I heard Bookmap's name come up a couple times here. There's a lot of our subscribers that use the Bookmap and they see those liquidity bubbles, I guess you call them, right? Those big, and you'll see those pop up. You see that resting liquidity at these options levels. And so if you know it's the options flow that's gonna turn on or initiate at these key junctures, and you know, oh, I know what that liquidity is on Bookmap, it's options levels, then I think that's immensely helpful to understanding how long that liquidity will be there, if it's persistent liquidity, or if expirations tomorrow, you know that liquidity is going to go away, right? So you can really use that to inform you a lot about the price action that can occur at these various levels. We also have statistically shown that when we hit the call wall, the stock tends to pin or slow down, right? The volatility of the stock shrinks a lot. Whereas when we hit the put wall, it's usually a high volatility situation. So if you look at forward returns when we hit a call wall, they're pretty flat. Stocks tend to plateau. If you look at the forward volatility, meaning how much or what are the returns when we go below put wall, they tend to be positive 5 to 10 days later. Why is that? Because stocks crash into these areas where all these puts are. People go, awesome, I'm going to sell my puts. I made a bunch of money being short the market, sell my puts, and that relieves options pressure, and that allows the market to rally. So if you, these lines here, these are put gamma, these curve, and call gamma is in orange. And so we look at those separately for a variety of reasons. Basically understanding where put flow and call flow start to wane. The other thing is we believe when you get into this that it matters whether an option is being driven by call options or put options. And there's several points of conversation into that, but just know that that's what we believe. Actually, we have some resources on our website. I'm happy to answer that question as well after why we think that. But let me break down for you here exactly how this works. So Matt mentioned I used some pretty technical language. I just want to explain with a direct example of how options flow makes its way into the underlying market. So We're all sitting here trading on our Interactive Brokers or Thinkorswim, whatever we got, and we're all buying calls. Let's just say we're buying Tesla calls today, right? 90% of the time when you put an order on the exchange, there's a market maker on the other side of that trade. So Citadel, Susquehanna, you've heard those names before, right? 90% of the time, it's one of those guys. When they trade against you, right, they're taking on risk. So if you guys are all buying the calls, they're selling those calls to you. They're short the stock. They don't want to necessarily be short the stock. It's just that's what's happening, right? They're in the market. They got to sell these calls. So how do they hedge out their risk? We measure that with a Greek we call delta, okay? And all you need to know about delta is it is the number of shares of stock they have to buy per contract to hedge, okay? So in this example, if we all in this room bought 100,000 calls this morning and the delta of those options was 50, that means they have to buy 50 shares of stock for every call that they sell. So that's 5 million shares of stock. Now, those numbers, the deltas change, everything is kind of dynamic, but that is the base explanation of how, again, options trading makes its way into underlying flows. So you can imagine this morning, Andrew himself probably bought enough calls to make that market go up. Now, it's important to also know that as time passes, as underlying price moves around, there's these other hedging flows associated with that. We measure that with what's called gamma, right? So they have 5 million shares to buy right here, right now, but as time passes, as the stock goes up or down in value, they have to adjust those shares, and we generally measure that with what's called gamma, and that tells us how many shares they have to adjust with.
So on a high level of 30,000 feet, if you say options are over here in the distance, why do they matter? Every time an options contract trades, something's likely happening in your stock or your future, and that's what we want to make sure you take away from number 3.
So this example of earlier today when we started, I showed you this trace map, and I showed you the live trace map from today, this morning, right now. I also mentioned to you before that we were talking about this level several weeks ago, right? This is our trace snapshot from March 13th. We had this presentation kind of bagged and tagged, so to speak, a couple of days ago, so we had to make sure we had relevant examples in. And what's fascinating is there's the JP Morgan 55.65 strike that we marked on the 15th in our founder's note. There's the area of support of blue that we mentioned on that same day, right? And then to the upside, you see there's red there, right? What that red tells us is that if the market starts to rally, the market makers have to start buying futures through that space. What does that mean? Well, if they have a bunch of futures they have to buy, they're going to push that market up, right? And they're going to push that market up a lot. So remember before I said, hey, I think that we could get into the 59.50 area if there's a relatively decent announcement out of this tariff talk. That's because of this, what we call negative gamma dynamic, whereas if we hit that red, market makers have to buy through that zone, right? And they're going to push the market up. That's why we call it slippery upside, because that space is there. So if you're watching a technical indicator or you're watching, some other type of flow, you may not be aware that there could be this persistent bid to the market because these options flows could push the market up. Now that blue is buying, blue is good, blue is stability. That is at 5,500 and below. And so you can see that the reality is over the last 2 weeks, this map really has not changed much at all. Now today that JP Morgan position is going to expire, so that's going to cause our map to update a little bit. We have the tariffs coming up, obviously, so that's going to change this map a little bit. But you can see how stable this overall picture has been, and the market has really respected this map. So I think this is really critical and important to understand, because even if you're day trading, you want to know the bigger context picture, right? You want to know what the possibilities are of the day and the things to watch out for. Again, when you look out past today, I think it's critical to know that. And I think it could really help. This morning, market's getting weak. VIX isn't really moving up. We're kind of anticipating the double bottom, right? And you can put a lot of this context in when you understand that this has been a major option support level, and that the big entities, right, the market-making dealer entities are not there to push the market down under that 5,500 level. So what are some of the ways that we can put some other options signals into context for everybody? This is a new tool we're launching on the 2nd. We call this Compass, and essentially it's a super scanner. And what you're looking at here, I apologize, it's a little tough to see, but there's a whole bunch of different stocks plotted on your map. Tesla there is in the top left quadrant. And what we're showing you is how much movement traders are pricing in, so we call that implied volatility, and how bullish or bearish traders in. We do this with a measurement called skew. And so why this is valuable is because when you look at this, this is what the options market is expecting for the underlying stock. Now, a lot of times, we all know about fear and greed, right? Well, sometimes there's just margin calls and there's other reasons for names to get too expensive or too cheap. We all kind of have been made aware of that, right? So when you can look at this data and you can say, okay, this is what the options market expects, If you think that's extreme or you disagree with it, then we argue there's a huge source of edge there, right? And also, if you're trading a name like Tesla and you go, everybody is bidding up puts right now and the name starts to rally, well, that may tell you that the put cover comes in and helps to push the stock up, right? So you get this extra layer of context that is really critical. Everybody knows about gamma squeezes, for example, right? You want to get into the name that's about to be GameStop gamma squeezed. Well, this type of scanner can help you because it could show that, hey, people are starting to buy these calls, and the name is really about to start to rally. So this is critical map to help you understand on a stock-by-stock basis or sector-by-sector basis exactly how the options market views different prices in different stocks.
Great. And one last takeaway for this slide is, again, this is going to launch on Wednesday. In a couple slides, we'll give you guys a link through Bear Bull for free open house access to our products later this week, special discounts for introductory members, and new ways to see how to evaluate whether your stocks are in a bullish zone on the left. Our pleasure. Thank you. A bullish zone on the left, a bearish zone on the right. So here again, green is bullish, bearish is on, red is bearish. Above that x-axis means that your name has expensive options, and below means they're cheaper. So it literally has a 4-grid. So every single day you can create your own watch list. You can log in, see where your name lines up. So, oh, my name's in a bullish zone where it's expensive options. That's good to know. So we want to make sure that we're bringing more and more accessible tools, because a lot of this information Brent's digesting for all of you comes from, again, 2 decades, because he's getting super old, of being at banks and being at hedge funds to understand what those people have access to from a data perspective, but it needs to be made accessible. So that's really our goal, is to bring you this 4-grid, green, red, up and down, as a new product on Wednesday. So again, we'll have more on that in a couple of slides, but we wanted to make sure that's really clear that every name that you trade each day has a positioning, and we refresh at about 3 in the morning, all of that data for you.
Yeah, and I think if you're an options trader, the value of something like this, I think, is a little more obvious. If you are, the stock or futures trader, there's still a ton of value in understanding how the options market is pricing in the movement. Now, along with that, Matt mentioned we have this incredible data launch, product launch here in a couple of days. We're also launching this new tool here on the left, and we're calling this our synthetic open interest. I like to call it SGOI. It's a little maybe easy to understand, but the point here is that we are, for the first time, tracking over time where market makers are buying and selling options. So those of you who are familiar with open interest, if you ever look at an open interest chart, you just see a bunch of bars, right? Here's what the open interest for puts, here's what the open interest for calls, and you don't know who's buying and selling those options, right? So we've been tracking this information now for 6 months to a year, depending on what product you look at, and we are now unveiling this for every single individual stock. So you will be able to see where traders are buying and selling puts and calls. That will show up on your screen here through our new models, and you will also understand the dealer hedging flows associated with that. So you will know, do the dealers, are they going to give me resistance when this name rallies, or are they going to keep buying the stock as the stock rallies, in which case it could rally further and faster, right? So that information is going to be absolutely critical here, particularly out of the tariffs, because there's not only so much volatility built in the system, which is going to move stocks a lot, there's going to be a lot of winners and losers out of this, right? Like Tesla may rally a lot more because it's, as far as I know, 100% American-made car, right? So they may not have the same tariffs, right? And so you'll see call buyers in that name, and then you'll know that's totally different from Ford or GM, which maybe sees call sellers or put buyers, right? So you'll be able to break that down. And then right, we have our equity hub table. This gives you all the key levels we were talking about, call walls, put walls, all those kinds of things in all 3,500 plus US listed instruments, stocks, ETFs, and indices. And, we say this, but, we're being truthful here. We think we're the only people that have this data, this synthetic open interest data. Some of the banks are now coming to us and asking for access to this data, which is a really exciting place for us to be in. And so, it used to be that people wanted the information that the banks had, and now it seems like it's all coming here to look at this data through Spot Gamma, and we're really excited to offer this to everybody as well. We think it's a real democratization of data. And again, as Matt mentioned, we're going to give everyone free trial periods of this. You'll be able to come in, look at all this data, and understand exactly how it helps you gain edge. Okay, so we covered a lot here today. Important takeaways. Number one, options flows, especially 0DT, they've increased exponentially.
And real quick, that's 1 through 5. I don't know what happened to formatting. That's my fault. But there's 5 takeaways for today. It says 1 through 5 on our screens. Go ahead. Yeah, exactly.
It's the screen's fault.
We have real software engineers that do our real stuff, so this is us. Yeah, go ahead.
So, you know, if you're not watching these options flows, particularly 0DT, and you're trading futures, whether or not you ever look at spot gamma systems again, just know that is an immense amount of order flow that you are missing out and you're not seeing. We could show the live screens again if we have a moment after this. We showed the beginning. 0DT calls getting bought this morning, right? Huge signal. These flows are only set to increase. We've seen a couple days of 60% of options volume being 0DTE here in the last few days. And so there's, again, an immense signal in there. These flows are driving the market. We have these data tools that show you this. We have the stats that show you this. You can see it happen in real time, day in and day out. And the reason this is because the options positions have to be hedged. So every time options contracts are being traded, there's hedging flows associated with those positions that have to change and adjust. Now, the exciting thing for me in the way that I personally trade is I love to know when there's a price dislocation that is created by options flows, right? If you know why a stock is going up at a tremendous amount or down by a tremendous amount, and it's because these dealer flows are moving the stock, I feel great about stepping in with that order flow, right? Because I know what's going on. The worst situation you could be in as a trader is something's moving and you don't know what it is, right? We've all done that. We're buying the dip, and then we just didn't know that, like, whatever, Ford had, I don't know anything about Ford, but they had, you know, insider trading or something, right? You don't want to ever be in that position. So these dislocations can be very valuable for understanding or trading against and interacting with. And then the last thing is, I use a lot of big words today, but we have expert level insights, we believe, and we try to distill that down into simple analytics. The data and the tools are all designed for anybody. If you don't know about the Greeks, red is bad, blue is good, right? You see that throughout the platform, making it easy for you to interact and understand this order flow as you start to get more educated about exactly about how the Greeks work and the way that things are working under the hood. It's like what I always say, it's like you can drive a car without understanding exactly how, you know, cylinders and gas and all that stuff fire, right? So when you distill this down, we think it's really powerful and an impactful edge to your trading. So you take that data, and we're getting the latest and best data available from the exchanges. We take all this data from the source. There's no middleman in here. We model it. We create statistics. We use this 20 years of expertise to inform our developers exactly what kind of visuals and plots we need to see to make sure that we are, again, distilling and conveying this information in the most convenient and actionable way possible. And that way you know exactly why your stocks are moving, how they're moving, and how to take advantage of that information. So these two new tools we're extremely excited to announce. They're going to launch on April 2nd. As Matt mentioned, you all are going to have a special link through the Bear Build link that we're going to share here momentarily. You get a free trial preview of these tools, of the platform. It's a try before you buy thing, right? You want to make sure you're all comfortable with this, you understand it, you see the power yourself. And we believe firmly in that, which is why we give the free preview. So with that, we're calling this a Better One or Two event. Anyone who's ever been to the eye doctor, you know they go, which one's better, one or two? So we're updating all of our lenses here, so you're getting the best lenses. And we are extremely, again, excited to announce this on April 2nd. Some people in the US are calling it Liberation Day, and we didn't know that they were talking about new spot gamma tools, so we're happy for that. So if you go here, spotgamma.com/bearbull. I was told that no one has made a tariff joke yet, so there's discounts available for those that you live in the US. If you're a Canadian, you're going to pay 25% more. Hopefully that's cool with everybody. So spotgamma.com/bearbull. There's a QR code there as well. And we hope that this was informational and helpful. And again, today, such an interesting strike to watch, the 55.65. So if we do trade to that level today, I'm expecting to see all of you on our launch event in kind. If we don't trade that level, hopefully see you anyways, right?
We have 10 to 15 more minutes. We could do a live take or take questions or, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
We can show what the market's doing now or take questions.
I got a mic for you.
Hi, very good presentation.
Thank you.
I am selling options. I do the wheel of options, like 30 days, 45 days.
Sure.
Is your platform giving me an edge, you know, to better select my my contracts?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when you look at this
We did not plant that question.
Yeah, we didn't plan this question. So when you look at this compass tool over here, what this is showing you is there's a whole bunch of different parameters you can put in here. So for those of you who don't know what the wheel is, it's an options selling strategy. It's kind of an income-based strategy. And when you're selling options, you want to sell options for obviously the fattest premium you can, right? And so the great thing about these tools here, like you can see on here, is we use something called IV rank and skew rank. What does that mean? That means that we're showing you the current options price versus the last year of data, right? So you could say, okay, historically for Tesla specifically, or for Palantir specifically, or for the S&P specifically, this is a 99th percentile ranked option, which tells me that puts are really expensive or the market's anticipating really high volatility in the future. So this sets this up for you to not only tell you, not only are the options expensive, but which side are the options expensive, right? Is the calls too expensive, or are the puts too expensive? How should I kind of interact or think about trading right here, right now? And not only that, you can look at the relative values, right? What's so interesting about this recent sell-off is you'd have some semi-stocks, right? Like Nvidia, would be crashing and the puts would be very expensive, but AMD wouldn't have very expensive puts, for example. Or the SMH index, which is the semi-index, would have extremely cheap calls, for example. So we had a lot of situations where we would dig in and say, okay, I want to sell some of these semi-stocks which are crashing, but which one is actually the best one to sell? Well, it's the one that has the highest IV rank.
So there is some kind of screener
Ball
by IV
dashboard,
rank
ball
that
dashboard.
give me, okay, this one is most expensive, and I can sell it, and probably it's gonna be the best value.
Yeah, I think so. Is it possible to switch back to my computer? Do you mind? Thank you. I want to show you a screen here, which I think is pretty interesting.
So as he pulls this up, so we have 4 or 5 live tools, and this is a different one we haven't shown yet called our volatility dashboard. This will show you every option, whatever name you want to type in, that says every U.S. stock and every U.S. indice, and you can see whether they're expensive or cheap. And then we have something called term structure he's going to show you, which shows you exactly what you're saying on a 15 to 30-day basis.
Yeah, so this is we call this the fixed strike matrix. This is a bank level options trading tool, but it's extremely valuable. And so what this is showing you is the options prices for all strikes across the x-axis and expirations on the y-axis. And so when you're saying, I want to sell some puts in Tesla because I think the stock's going to bounce, I don't really know what puts to sell, this screen right here will show you which ones have the fattest premium. So you can go in here and say, okay, look at this. The 215s for late April have 90 cents of premium. This has $1.20 of premium, right? Versus if I went out in time, the premium is getting fatter, where if I went way out in October, the premium's only 83 cents. So you said that you always sell 30-day options, right? It's like, this is the one I sell, this is the 30-day upsell. Well, which strike do you choose, right? The one with the fattest premium, Or maybe you're saying rather than selling the 30-day expiration, I should go out another week because the premium gets even larger as I step out just a little bit more.
Okay, but usually I take around 0.3 delta.
Yep.
So
yeah, so you hover over there, you can see in that grid there, we give you the delta. See, so you usually like to sell, 1 month, so that's about March 2nd, right, or May 2nd, and that delta is 30 delta, right?
Okay.
So
Yes,
that premium right there is 81 cents of premium. So what that's basically telling you is, we think that option is has 80 cents of value that if you sell, that's how much value you could reap from that position. Now, if you go down one strike to the 220s, that premium expands to 97 cents. Why is that premium expanding? It's because everybody's buying Tesla puts right now and is making all those puts jump in value. Mm-hmm. So when you always say, hey, the only thing I could do is 1 month, 30 delta puts, you get locked into that, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas if you tweak it just a little bit, you can gain a lot of extra premium because you're saying, I don't have to, hit this. I don't have to hit this nail. I could hit this other nail, slightly to the right or slightly to the left. I'm doing the same thing. It's just I'm optimizing my strategy, and that could be the difference between having a great trade or not such a great trade, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great question. That'll be available also with the open house later this week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So for me, options is like very unreliable because they are not obliged to cover it, to execute, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how you know who will execute and the other guy who will just sell it back, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a couple of...
Let's repeat the question.
So I think the question is related to expiration, right? Like who's going to exercise the position or let it expire, right? So the question is, how do we know when someone's going to hold the position to expiry or not? And the truth of the matter is you don't always know how that's going to work. Traders could choose at any time to close a position, right?
Let me clarify. Is that the question, or are you asking who the participants are, right? You're asking, yeah. I think he wants to know who participants are, which applies in the synthetic OI.
So let's say someone come and buy 200 call option.
Yep.
how we know he will really execute? He will buy the share of the stock
Back to hedging.
compared to somebody just resell it.
Yeah. So it's a great question. Let's just look at Hero today, right?
Anyway, doesn't matter. So we know we'll get hedged.
So here, there's two lines on your screen here today, right? There's the purple line, which is all expiration order flow, and then there is the green line, which is just 0DT. And this number over here is just dollars, okay? So there's $3.5 billion worth of hedging flow that we think has to be bought so far today, right, as a result of S&P 500
Just
trading.
real quick, sorry. 0 DTE means 0 days to expiration for anybody in the room that's not familiar with that term. So that means that green line is showing you options that expire today. So as Brent was saying in the first point of the 5 takeaways, that more than 60% of the options trading are 0 DTE on the S&P. That's really meaningful for your intraday trading. If they're coming in and going out, that's why these daily moves are so volatile.
Yeah, no problem. So to your point, if I'm going to buy a call option with the idea that I'm going to hold this option for about an hour, I'm not going to buy a 1-month call, right? I'm going to buy the 0 DTE position. Make sense? Like, that's the cheapest option. That's the one I can flip into and out of. So what we do is we watch the 0 DTE order flow, and that has a lot more movement to it rather than the all expiration order flow. So the reason I bring that up is, number one, it's about measuring the exposure in real time. And what we've come to find out is, this is what the flow alert is for, when the volume or the notional value gets so big, then we can measure and understand that it gets more impactful to the market. So everything in this options order flow business and understanding it is about capacity, right? If someone trades a 1-lot Tesla, the market maker is probably not going to do anything, right? But if they trade the 100,000 that we mentioned before, that has to start to invoke some underlying order flow, right? Because it's so large. So how do you know when the order flow is getting large enough? That's what this flow alert is telling us. So that's one thing. The second thing is, when you look at Trace, these bars over here, we have new exchange data. This exchange data updates every 10 minutes, and it tells us, informs us, and informs our model what options have been bought and sold in the last 10 minutes. So at a maximum distance of 10 minutes, you know whether someone bought or sold or opened or closed that contract, right? So when you look at this today, you can just step back 10 minutes, and you can see how these bars shift in size, right?
Yeah, so you can watch this like a movie to go back and forth and see how it changes. But within that context, we spend more than $300,000 a year on data feeds alone. So we really believe that we parallel or exceed what many banks have, and then we distill that down. So Brent has 20 years of algorithm development, and that goes into these lines that tell you that if a 1-lot trades in Tesla, might not be hedged. A 10-lot or 20-lot likely will to some level. 100,000 lot surely will. And that, again, was the GameStop reference. That when we authored that article in the Wall Street Journal, we were explaining how it was actually a ton of puts being sold that were part of the fuel driving it up. And that measurement is what we project onto this line.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So this blue line here is the Hero line, so it's the same line that you're looking at on your screen right here, right? Just in a different screen. Now, what'll happen if all these 0 DTE call buyers, right, they bought all these calls this morning, they're feeling great, right? Oh, I'm making a bunch of money. I'm going to sell those. Well, Hero has a nanosecond, millisecond delay, right? So as soon as people start selling those calls, you're going to see this green line start to go down, right? And that's going to tell you that that hedging flow is starting to come off, and then you'll see these trace bars also start to reverse. So to your point, we're telling you with a 10-minute delay in the S&P for sure what happened. Hero's telling you, giving you a bunch of guidance as to what's happening, right, in real time. So at some point, you're going to see this blue line, which tells us, again, $3 to $4 billion worth of calls have been bought and puts have been sold, right? That means there's up to $4 billion of order flow that dealers had to buy. They're at some point going to start selling, and when they sell, we believe that's going to be kind of a topping sign for the market. Now, when would you expect to see them?
You'll see that blue line flatten.
Right, you'll see this blue line right here, this purple line starts. I'm sorry, I'm pointing on my screen. Like, oh, you can see that, right? The presentation was a clicker, so.
And it's starting to flatten right now.
Right, and where would you expect that to happen? Well, you would start to look at these major options levels, right? So here you could see we have these key options resistance point. We, put walls tied to this JP Morgan position. We have these ideas of implied move highs and lows. These are options-based levels that we think are really important. So that's where you see that order flow start to translate in real time. And I'll just also note, you can look at all individual single stocks in this tool. We have Hero as well. This chart here is the single stock pressure. So if you add up all of the individual stocks in the S&P 500 and you show their options flow in aggregate, this is what we see. The thing when I look at this is I see that teal line, which measures, in this case, Friday's options, because it's the next expiration, versus all order flow. And you can see those two lines are really tightly correlated, right? Like they're on top of each other. That, to me, tells me that we didn't see necessarily these longer dated call buyers coming out saying, hey, this is a significant long-term bottom in Tesla, right? It's kind of these short-dated traders that are coming out playing. Short-dated traders have short-dated views, right? They're not trying to plant a flag in the ground saying, I'm buying this, you know, because it's going to rally for the rest of the year. Now, that makes sense because the tariffs are coming up here, announcement in a couple of days. But when I look at this, I go, okay, this is a short-term bounce. It's not particularly large. It's $200 million of order flow. This over here is the 30-day high and low, right? So you can get as much as $2 billion in the single stock space of order flow. So the single stock side is very quiet right now. Makes sense because of tariffs. Not a lot of people sticking their neck out. If I saw this as $2 billion worth of order flow and it was this purple line going up a lot, which told me it's longer dated call buyers coming in, then I would feel great about this being a significant long-term low, right? But right now it's like a trader's bottom. It's you know, kind of like a dead cat bounce kind of situation. You know, Matt mentioned you could see the flow starting to roll over a little bit here as we get up into that into the strike. And this $3.8 billion of S&P flow is pretty strong for half day. You know, you can get as much as $8 billion over the last 30 days. So you can put all that flow into context and start to really take a lot of interesting information out of it, you know, when you start to watch it a lot. And, you know, like anything else, we have indicators on here that tell you how big and small things are. So if you're curious, you know, what names have the most bullish or bearish order flow, you can scan in there. So the semis actually have pretty strong strength. Gold's been a really interesting one. Just persistent call buying in gold, but the calls aren't yet too expensive. So oftentimes we'll see a move will stop out when the calls get to be unreasonably expensive, and that brings up that compass tool before. So if you know that people are paying the highest they've ever paid for calls in gold, that's probably a topping signal, right? Same thing in puts. If people are paying more than they've ever paid for puts, then the bottom's probably in. That's just fear and greed, right? Everyone's familiar with that. It's a tale as old as time, right? And so that's what's really interesting to us about gold is that you know the calls aren't getting too rich yet. Like, and we've talked about this in the past, so it's not a kind of a hindsight statement. It's not a crowded trade yet when you look at the options market, which I think is super interesting.
Yep. So we are coming to time. We have 1 minute left, so I wanted to make sure that if there's any
One
last
last question.
we don't
here.
overstay our welcome.
So on our trading, like a brokerage account, only can say the volume. We don't know it's selling volume or it's buying volume. So is there any way we can say on your platform?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you're referring to the real-time data. So this is a tool we have called Tape. Now what Tape does is it shows you everything that's being bought and sold today. Now, she asked a very insightful question. Can we tell whether these options were being bought and sold? And the truth is for underlying individual stocks right now, you cannot tell. We cannot tell on our platform. For the S&P, you can tell on Trace, right, the real-time data. So in Tape, you can't see that, right? But what you can do is you can see open interest, and then when you go into our new system, the product update on 4.2, we're telling you where dealers and market makers are already short options, right? So what that means is that when you see the real-time volume come in on Tape, you'll know that, hey, market makers are already short or long these calls. And so if I see the same volume show up on Tape, then I can say, okay, they must be selling this position because it matches up with the position that exists already. Does that make sense?
So the new graphs and charts on Wednesday for all stocks will incorporate our assumption as to buying and selling based on the logic from the $300,000 of data feeds and 20 years of experience. So we will make assumptions.
Yeah, so I can log in real quick on this. I know everyone's looking at Tesla. So this is the new beta system, and so just to give you a quick example of what that will look like.
And we realize we're at time, Andrew.
I know everyone's going to get out here. So what does Tesla look like right now? Okay, bars, positive bars are dealers are long those positions, right? That's support and resistance. Negative bars is where dealers will invoke volatility. So this area right here is 275, that's 280, okay? So when the market goes down, they're going to start selling futures into that dip, selling the stock into that dip, and if the stock rallies, they'll buy those back up until we hit 270, right? At 270, we show the dealers are long those calls, right? Because individual traders were selling those calls. Does that make sense? So what does that mean for you? That means that market makers start selling stock into that rally, into that 280 area, and then you would expect that to be a topping spot in the stock. Now, those of you who trade Tesla a lot know that's exactly where the stock topped out before, right? But this is I'm giving you a forward-looking statement. I'm not giving you a hindsight statement. The calls are being sold at that same time in that same area, so this chart looked a lot like it did here, right? But it still looks like that. So what does that mean to me? That means if we do get a big rally off of tariffs, I'm looking at that 280 level, right, this right here, as a major resistance point, because the dealers and market makers have millions of dollars of stock to sell into that rally. So now also, if I see real-time trades taking place at that 280 level in their calls, then I'm going to be believing that either they're offsetting this existing flow, well, I'll just be believing that they're offsetting that existing flow generally if I see it kind of rally up into there. So.
Okay, thank you. Now, you guys, you're going to be able to stick around for a few minutes to answer some questions?
Indeed, yeah.
That would be great. I know we got some more questions, guys. We got to keep moving on here, though, so we've got a packed agenda for this morning. So thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Okay, now,
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Very nice.
this is we're going to do an audience participation activity. Everybody stand up. And everybody's going towards the stage. We want a group photo. So we're going to need some people sitting on the front of the stage, some people standing behind them. Not everybody on the stage because we're not sure what its carrying capacity is. So, and then people standing in the front of it. So we're going to get a group photo. Our photographer's going to be standing up at the back. We'll do it right now. We also use this as an opportunity to get rid of the tables and stuff before we get to our next presentation. So, everybody up. If you're out in the hallway, get in part of the photo. Yeah, but not too many. Well, we'll find out when it. Yeah, that's right. All right, that's probably enough on the stage, just in case. Stay up front now.
I know. No more stage. No more on the stage.
Yeah, squeeze it in the front there. Give everybody another row.
I'll give it shorter. Tana last night was talking about things too, and they go tippy toes.
It is.
Yeah, it's when they do like.
All right, hold on. Let me come around. Let me see how everybody's looking. How are we doing for width? Are they too wide, or can you get everybody in? Squeeze, okay. Come on, pretend like you like each other. Come on, just move in a little bit, especially the guys on the outside. Yeah. All right, here we go. We're ready. Paparazzi. Hey. We good? All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. That's right. All right. Thank you for that. As you guys are heading back to your seats, I'll just let you know. So the order for the morning, we've got Thor, who's going to be up presenting now. We're just going to take another couple of minutes. We got to get the tables off stage and get things ready. So if you want to take a bathroom break, you can do that now. We will then be having breakfast. Breakfast will be served. Megan's going to be presenting during breakfast. So you can go get your food and then come back, and then we'll be doing Megan's presentation thereafter. And we got a couple more presentations for you here. So, but don't worry, you will get fed. It'll be after Thor's done, okay? So just give us 2 minutes. We'll get these tables down, and we're good to go.